Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to the War of Ideas. It is episode 38. We have I've invited a fellow interloper, Mace Starwalk, a fellow host, just because we have so much fun when we disagree about things. We are going to be evaluating Andrew Tate, because Andrew Tate, say what you want about the man, but he is in fact interesting, and he is also very much imposed himself onto the war of ideas in such a quick fashion that I'm not sure if I've seen anybody go as viral to such a large extent as I've seen Andrew Tate do so. And we're going to talk about him because I think he's interesting and I think he's complicated. I don't know. Maybe says that Tate is a lowlife, a pimp, and a panderer. I'm shocked he gets so much attention. Well, um, some of those things are probably true, but the reason he gets so much attention is not for those reasons. He gets attention for the other things that he does and says and acts. And then that stuff usually is put into the background and not talked about so much. Whether or not, I mean, he's definitely a digital pimp. He's admitted to doing the OnlyFans thing, which personally, as a stodgy, old-fashioned person, I very much do not like. Whether or not he's an actual sex trafficker remains to be seen. It's possible. I don't know what you mean by panderer, though, exactly. It's every pathetic little boy's dream to exploit/use beautiful women. All of them? It's not very nice. Okay, anyway. Yeah, we're going to talk about him. We're going to go through some quotes. I'm going to give a little bit of an opening spiel. Just about my thoughts. You get them all in the open. Allow you guys to cancel me. I'll do it for like 3 minutes and then we'll talk and it'll be more interesting. So, I think that Andrew Tate's attitude towards women, and this has been said of him, that his diagnosis of the problems with the world are very good, and his prescriptions for how people should act are generally very bad. And I agree with that. I think a lot of what he says about what's wrong with the world and what's wrong with modern society, a lot of it, not all of it, because I don't want to be pinned to every single thing he says. Most of it I think is correct. I think that some of the stuff that he tells young men to do, which is go to the gym even when you don't feel like it, control your emotions, try to display some traditional masculinity, work out. I already said work out. What else? Strive for financial stability and achievement, like all fine. The stuff he says about um, psychology in terms of men and women is interesting. I think some of it's true. I think some of it he's wildly overstating. And then what he says about how men should treat women is generally not true. I don't like it, and I think it's gross. And I think that the way he got rich through only being basically a digital pimp with OnlyFans girls is also very gross. And I also think that he phrases things poorly. The big thing with Andrew Tate is that basically all the good things that he says you could get from somebody else who's a better role model. So, like, you could listen to Jordan Peterson or Jocko Willink or other people on the internet and get basically the same good things that Andrew Tate says without Andrew Tate, with all the bad stuff that comes with Andrew Tate. So that's kind of the long and short of it, I suppose. IDK maybe says just the ones who can't get laid, I guess. Pandering is gratifying or indulging in a moral, distasteful desire, need, or habit. A person with such desire. Yeah, he's definitely a hedonist. I mean, he says that there's more to life than money, but then he talks about incessantly about money. And about how that's what really makes you a person. But so there's a bit of a contradiction there. So I don't really like the hedonism either. Mace, welcome to the show. You have expressed far less complicated opinions and very negative. I think I'm going to agree with you on a lot of your problems with them. So welcome. How you doing? Hello. IDK maybe says I like his stance on Russia. I don't know his stance on Russia. Put it in the chat. Everybody call in if you feel like it. Mace, you do not like Andrew Tate. Why do you not like Andrew Tate overall?
Because he's obviously a scam artist. That's my main issue with him.
What you mean with Hustlers University?
Yeah.
Why do you think it's a scam? I'm just elucidating for the audience. Look, answer the question. Look,
It's a get
I'm a
rich
directing
quick
attorney
scheme.
here. I know what the answer is going to be, but I still want you to give the answer.
I just gave you the answer.
What was it?
It's a get rich quick scheme.
Right. So Tate has been accused of this, and I have seen him say things like people have made their money back, and therefore it's not a scam. I mean,
I've
what, they paid
seen some
$49?
reviews saying that his course is mostly just the teacher telling them why they made such a great decision coming on the course and telling them why they should keep paying them money with the occasional sprinkling of information. But even then, that information is all basic entry level stuff that anyone can access for free already on the internet.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That's probably the case. I'm gonna devil's advocate for him one
I would
sec.
call that a scam.
Yeah, I'm not debating this point. I don't like him personally, like as a
Okay.
human. He's not my favorite. But there's a difference between what him as a human and his opinion and his message and his impact on various topics. And some of those
Mm.
topics his impact is bad, and then some of those topics his impact is debatably good. As far
I
as the
don't
scam
think
thing, though,
he's
I could.
worth.
Huh?
There's no point listening to him though, because he's a scam artist. Everything he says is dishonest and has an ulterior motive behind it. He may
Wait,
say some factually true things, but he's saying those things to brainwash you into going on his course and paying him money. That
and you
that
think
that
and
he's
you think that
an
alone
artist at brainwashing.
And you think that alone is just throws out everything that he's ever said?
I think it's not worth listening to him. Whatever he says, close your ears to it. You can get everything he says, you can find somewhere else for free. You don't need to listen to that guy.
I
And
have said this.
I
This is
know
true.
maybe he says some things that don't cost money, but they do
Right.
cost you brain cells because he's corrupting them one at a time
I mean, I don't
until
know. Do you think I've been
eventually
corrupted? I've seen a
until
few
eventually you're
TikToks.
wrapped around his finger.
I've seen a few TikToks, Mace. Is it over for me? Seen a couple edits.
Well, I don't know. Have
Is
you
it
signed
over?
up for his course yet?
No.
No?
Because I don't want
Then
to.
you're not fully lost, I suppose.
Okay. Okay.
But
Good to know.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of people who I was half expecting you to be one of those people who'd be all like, "Nah, his course isn't a scam; it's totally legitimate." To which I
No,
was
I
going
mean,
to say, "Well, why
I
don't you
could.
go on it then?" But
I mean,
luckily,
I
you
could
didn't
play
fall
devil's
into that
advocate
trap.
for it. I mean, I can't do a hard defense because I haven't taken it, so I don't know. Like, I just don't have the information. I could play devil's advocate, and the devil's advocate would be, okay, sure, it's publicly available, but they aren't just paying for the information. They're paying for Andrew Tate's selection of the information that he thinks is important and worthwhile, and
They're
his
paying for
explanation of it.
industry secrets from the mind of someone who has succeeded in that industry.
Does he promise
Industry
industry
secrets
Does he
and
promise industry
basic
secrets, or does he
entry
promise?
level
Well,
information are not the same thing.
again, does he promise industry secrets, or does he promise a course of stuff that he thinks works? And does he like suggest that people will get at least a return on investment that's more than they put in? Because if
Let's
it's the
have a look.
latter, he's telling the truth. But I get again,
Let's have a look
it
on the
feels
website.
scammy.
I can't confirm this, but
I know I can't either.
I would suspect the website doesn't advertise this as a selection of basic entry level facts you could get for free somewhere else. But we've just done the work of putting it all together for you. I don't think they're going to be that honest, but let's see.
Okay. Master. What about masterclass? Is masterclass a scam?
I don't know what that is.
You don't know what masterclass is? I guess the question that comes to me again as playing devil's advocate. So like, chat before you jump down my throat. Like, chill. Um, for the purpose of devil's advocate, like at that point, like you're basically saying advertising is scamming, right? Because obviously he's not going to sell his product in the worst, less appeasing way possible. He's going to sell it saying, "Oh yeah, hand picked strategies that the top G has used personally to achieve success, taught directly to you. That will
Well,
make you much more
unless
likely to make your money
unless
back." Which, by the
un-
way, none of that is untrue. I haven't even taken the course, and I know all of that is like definitely true. It's like, again, it's upselling because it's advertising, and like you slant it. But Where's the line between advertising and scamming precisely, Mace?
Good question.
It is a
I
good question.
suppose advertising has to give you factual information and real opinions on things, whereas scam is just fraudulent, and the idea is just to rinse you of your money, and it doesn't back up any of its claims. So, sometimes companies do get done for false advertising, which I would say false advertising is a form of scam, which is why it's illegal.
Sure.
But usually companies are very careful to make sure they don't make any claims about their product that they can't back up.
I'm gonna read Hustlers University website. I'm gonna do it. Everybody ready? I'm not going in the rabbit hole. I'm not going to join, but I am gonna read it. It says Hustlers University is an exclusive community where you have private access to e-commerce, Amazon FBA, copywriting, freelancing, crypto and NFT, stocks and options, the real world, and much more. The real world as opposed to the Matrix. Each and every professor is verified by Andrew Tate. Each one of them is making between 50 and 500K per month in their select field. And then they
There you
have
go.
reviews.
That's probably false advertising there.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, for starters, right, Andrew Tate himself, I think he has like 100,000 members approximately on this course. And the course costs about $50 a month. So 100,000 times 50 every month. He's making millions. This is his main source of income. So if he doesn't teach his students to start their own bullshit courses, then he's not teaching them his best income advice.
Well, let's be fair, all right. Andrew Tate has gained sufficient notoriety and reputation that this would actually work for him. Him teaching like Mace Starwalk how to start one of these doesn't mean shit because you don't have the rep to back it up, right? Again, I don't like I always find myself playing devil's advocate for positions I don't like, but I'm just too good at it. We have over 160,000 students keeping their subscription to Andrew Tate's Hustlers University, maintaining. This means that they are making more money than they have invested into Hustlers University and decided to stay. Okay. Now that's a claim and a half, which is basically saying that since I have 160,000 people who have renewed, that means they must be at least making their money back.
Sorry, I was reading something. What was that?
Mace, you were distracted from anything other than me? I'm so sad. Basically, he says that he has 160,000 people who have continued to resubscribe every month, which shows that they are at least making their money back.
No, that's not what that shows at all.
Or just continue to have blind faith.
It shows that it just shows that they haven't cancelled their subscription. There could be a number of reasons for that. Well, the one I suspect is most common is that it's simply too difficult for them to cancel their subscription, so they don't bother.
Well, actually, it's $50 a month is enough to cancel. I imagine it's partially blind faith. They're just like, if I keep at it, if I keep digging, right?
Yeah, there's also
stop
the brainwashed
gambling. The next
people
one
who
will
think,
be the one.
Yeah, I didn't make any money this month or the month before, but maybe if I just stay one more month, I'll make some money. Yeah, there is
if you
that.
allow Hustlers University to run for I don't know 2 years, and if it's still having these numbers, then maybe you have an argument. But it hasn't existed for that long, so. Again, I said,
hasn't it? But it says they're on Hustlers University 3.0. So
yeah, I don't know what that means. I don't know how recently.
So you're telling me this course is under a year old and they've already got through 3 versions of it?
I have no idea. I know nothing about the history. I'm just saying that if it existed for an extended length of time, maybe that number would mean a little more. That's all I'm saying. But it doesn't.
Where does it tell you how old it is?
Huh?
Where does it tell you how old it is?
It doesn't. I just know when I first heard about it, when he first started advertising it was not that long ago. Again,
he may have been advertising the new improved version, not the overall.
Well, the old version couldn't have been that popular because not very many people knew who Andrew Tate was. I imagine Hustlers University really took off when his popularity took off.
Actually, you'd be surprised. I was almost brainwashed by one of these scam artists, and that's when I found out that there's actually this massive online community of people like him that just do this for a living. The one I
Face
was
reveals that
almost
it's personal.
the one I was almost captured by was one in England called Samuel Leeds. He does a fake property investment course thing, basically like this. And he's like, "Yeah, you pay me thousands of pounds. You'll get not only all your money back, but you'll become a financially free millionaire." Financially free is like the big thing he always says. They all say that. They all say
Yeah,
financially free.
there's
Their
yeah, no, I know
buzzword.
the advertisements you're talking about. The YouTube
Yeah,
advertisements. There's so
and
many.
these people, they don't
Yeah.
operate independently. They all know each other. Like I've actually seen uh Andrew Tate and Samuel Leeds together in a video on Samuel Leeds' YouTube channel, and there are other ones just like them. They all meet up and do videos together. So it's like this massive scammers community.
Yeah, I couldn't speak to that, but again, I believe it. Um Gator Don't Play says, Are you going to big up Ty Lopez and SBF? No, I haven't big upped anybody. I play devil's advocate for people. Sam Bankman Free is a dirtbag. This is true. Um, this is true. IDK maybe says it's all scams. That's what capitalism is built on. That's a little far. That's a little far. Usually, like for something to continue to work, it has to deliver what it promises. There's exceptions. Scams exist, but they're not the norm. That's why
Actually,
we.
Gator Don't Play, I do know about Coffeezilla. Thank you very much.
I know. I'm
Coffeezilla
gonna
is a
look into
great
it.
channel, by the way.
I'm gonna look into it. Don't forget to tell everyone how great Brian Rose and London Real is. I don't know who these people are. I'm assuming they are scam artists. I am not saying that
No,
it's
no,
good.
Coffeezilla exposes scam artists on YouTube.
No, no,
I haven't
no.
I haven't
Gator is.
seen his video on tape, but I have seen it on Samuel Leeds. Sorry,
I
carry on.
Yeah. He also did one on Logan Paul, I believe, which I've been meaning to watch. But Gator
Oh,
don't.
is he a scammer as well? I didn't know.
Yeah, he did the NFT stuff, which is so sad because it's like every time you think Logan Paul has like redeemed himself and like he seems like a solid dude, it's just something else, just something new happens. It's like the second time. It's sad. But yeah, Gator Don't Play is telling me that I should like praise somebody named Brian Rose and London Real. Do you know who those people are?
London Real. I think that's one of the. I think he's a member of the scam community.
Yeah, like I'm
Not heard
sure
of
they
London
are. Like
Rose.
yeah. Again, guys, I'm playing devil's advocate because it makes for a more interesting conversation.
Hang on, let me just see.
Everyone needs to calm
London
down. Um,
Real.
but yeah, Gator makes a good point. Like a lot of what he's
Yeah,
advertising
yeah,
here
I
is like
recognize that guy. He's one of the scammers too.
he's just using the word exclude in this homepage. He's using the word exclusive quite a bit. Like it's just advertising. Like he's just trying to get you to click the thing.
False advertising though.
Well, is it fault? It's not. I mean, it is exclusive to the course. The information in the course isn't exclusive, but the course is exclusive. Again, like he's not lying.
The
He's just,
the
being
website
scammy and
here
gross.
says we will teach you how to generate money, and that is exactly what will happen once you follow our systems.
Where are you reading that? I'm on the homepage.
I'll send a link. I don't
Okay.
know which page this is. Just the
Yeah,
first thing
I
I
don't
clicked on.
know. I don't know. He has lots of video testimonials. Wait, hold on. This guy Kong, I know this guy. This guy's in a one of the video testimonials is a guy who runs these on YouTube ads. I've seen him. I've seen this guy. His name is Kong. He does these these courses on how to get rich. I've seen his ads on YouTube, and he's one of the guys in one of the testimonials for Hustlers University.
Yeah, they would be. They all support each other. As I said,
Yeah,
it's a community.
that's
They
kind
all
of
know
great.
each other. They all help each
Some of
other
them are
out.
streamers.
It's
Like
disgusting.
I imagine this does work for like some people. Like I imagine like some people have taken this course and then like succeeded. But like the idea that they couldn't have done that without the course is not really reasonable. Because there's enough testimonials from enough like not well known people. I mean, maybe he just paid them all off. That's also possible. I don't know.
I mean, he's making so much
He's
money
making
from
enough,
this
right?
course that
Yeah, he's making
it
enough.
wouldn't surprise me if occasionally he takes someone under his wing and actually makes them rich just so he has a testimonial.
Exactly. How about Trump University? Yeah, it's also a scam. So is the Clinton Foundation. Yeah. Gator is saying that. Oh, Gator doesn't like the show. Oh, that's so sad.
Wasn't the purpose of this show to discuss his quotes?
That was one of the things we were gonna do. I mean, we
Oh.
kind of just went into
So
Hustlers University.
you scammed me into this then, because that was what you
No,
told
we
me
were
we
gonna
were
do that,
doing.
but you brought up Hustlers University, and that went interesting. I go where the conversation takes me. We're not having an argument, Gator. We're having a conversation. Would you just prefer us to agree on everything? Is that what you prefer? NV Cap says Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson are part of the problem and just making humans needlessly angry at each other through generalizations. Hold on. There's no way you put those two names in the same sentence. You didn't do that, did you? Those aren't the same type of person. Don't be like that. Mace, do you think that that's an appropriate
Yeah, Jordan
grouping?
Peterson's clearly not part of the same community as Andrew Tate.
Right. He says some similar things that are good. That does
And
not
Andrew Tate targets Jordan Peterson fans.
real.
That's like his main target that he's trying to brainwash at the moment, but they're not any remotely similar.
No, that's right. Humans needlessly angry at each other. If you think Jordan Peterson tries to make people angry at each other, you really have not listened to him at all. If you think that like that's his goal, yeah, you need to listen to more Peterson, friend. Peterson is detailed and specific to the point where it gets really annoying. Where people accuse him of word salading and going on too long. He's pretty specific. Sometimes he's unclear, but he's pretty specific and detailed. But Hustlers University. Yeah, we sent some links so you guys can look at it. Right, Michaela Peterson, way overpriced diet nutrition advice. I mean, yeah, that might be a little bit scammy too. I haven't looked into it. I haven't.
Have you ever heard of Grant Cardone?
No.
No, he's also in the community. Have you ever heard of Dan Locke?
No, I don't like.
No.
I don't walk in these fields. But yes,
Well,
there's apparently
I see all of these people advertised on my YouTube all the time because I got sucked in by Samuel Leeds, and now the YouTube algorithm knows. Oh, okay, he was brainwashed by one of them, so maybe I'll throw more of them at him.
Right. I signed up for one course from this Kong guy like 3 years ago. I didn't sign up for the course. I subscribed to his email, and he still fucking emails me. I've blocked him so many times. I don't know how. It's like 3 years later, I still get the emails. It's crazy. I never give him any money, but Michaela, yeah, we can talk about Michaela Peterson for a second. Like, I mean, she had a particular experience with diet and nutrition personally, and she has a diet that works for her, and she sells the specifics. Like, I'm not really sure how that's a scam. Overpriced, sure, maybe. But I don't think it's scammy, and also I wouldn't really associate that with Jordan himself. I'm pretty like they work together, but like I don't think Jordan is probably all that involved. I don't know. We can talk about quotes though, because that's more interesting and should rile up the rabble a little bit more. Interestingly, I think the quotes is where I'm going to agree more. First quote. This is the most important quote. We're starting with the most important one. You ready? Are you ready, Mace? What color is your Bugatti? Captain Jack called it 100%. It's the most important quote. What do you think about this quote, Mace?
Why is that a quote?
It's a quote. It's in the list of the top 140 plus Andrew Tate quotes that I found. Of which, by the way, these might not be real. I'll be able to tell you when I know some are real, but I'm not gonna be able to verify all of them. This one is real. This one isn't good. This one, it's funny, but it's also basing value and materialistic things in hedonism, and it's not good. I don't love it. It's not great. Mace, have you come around?
It's a bit brain dead. That's all I can say.
Yeah. NV Cap has come back about the Peterson stuff. He says Jordan Peterson says things like men, women, and society when everything is based on the individual and not the collective. Many people, we'll take the first half first. Yeah, he says that, but he means that on average. I don't know how you avoid using those terms. Peterson is also has very much said a lot of times how crucial the sanctity of the individual is and the importance of the individual. When he's speaking psychologically about men and women, you should always assume he's speaking on average because that's how psychological trends work. Um, like the fact he's speaking in generalities occasionally doesn't mean that he actually sees people as blocks. It's very difficult to like talk about like human psychology without speaking in generalities occasionally based on the assumption that your audience is like tuned in enough to know you're speaking on average.
Also, Captain Jack, I do not say humans are born with 10 fingers. I don't know where you got that bullshit from. I do not define a species by the number of fingers it has. Thank you.
Yeah, well, Jack is speaking in generalities that apparently make people more angry and racist against people without 10 fingers, apparently, by saying this. So, Jack, you're a bigot and should be thrown out of civilized society. And you should be attacked by your licensing college as well for saying such a thing, for not communicating accurately enough. Many people, I'm going to finish what NVCap said because he took time with this response, so it's worth talking about. Many people, if not most, make this fallacy, which I see as counterproductive. Ideology only leads down a rabbit hole while tricking you into thinking you are seeking the truth. I mean, these things are true, but one, Jordan, like, he talks about the danger of ideology, like, all the time. Again, you need to listen to him more. And then, yeah, it's fallacious to listen to terms like men and women in society and then in your head think that those three things are very, like, easily definable and uniform categories. That is the fallacy. But just because you're using that word doesn't mean that that's what you mean. Like Jack is saying, just because I'm saying humans have 10 fingers doesn't mean I'm saying all humans always have 10 fingers. These, like there's no way to talk the way you want him to talk in a way that makes sense. I'm sorry. We're going to go to the YouTube comments real quick and then we'll get to more quotes. Be Skeptical says that he has no new information, but is a strong peasant pissing off the feminine. This makes him good, says Be Skeptical. What do you think about that, Mace? Do you like the fact that he apparently pisses off the feminine, according to Be Skeptical on YouTube?
So this isn't an Andrew Tate's quote?
No, this is Be Skeptical's take on Andrew Tate. He says that basically he says things that everyone else has already said, but he has such a strong presence and he pisses off the feminine and therefore he's good. Do you agree?
No, he's not good. He's a scammer.
Yeah, well, I agree. Okay. Do you think that there's something good about pissing off the feminine?
The who?
I'm just reading the quote, man. Not the quote, the comment from the YouTube.
Did he say the femme?
No, the feminine, as in like the abstract construct of like the feminine.
No.
You don't think it's good?
It's not good to piss people off. No, that's bad.
Isn't the name of your show convince me otherwise? Yeah, I tend to agree, but I had to get the dig in. All right. Jack is trolling you in the chat. We'll do some more quotes.
It's okay though. He has a small dick, so
let's get off that. Let's stop. Maybe we'll discuss that topic about Andrew Tate eventually. Okay. I have to go to work today. Quote from Andrew Tate is, I have to go to work today. No, change your language. I get to go to work today. This is a good quote. This is a good thing. This is how you should think about your life.
Not when you think about what his line of work is, taking advantage of vulnerable people who are desperate to make a quick buck.
Right, but that's not we were just talking about how you can't like misread things in the worst way. Like he's not saying that like, oh, me specifically, I should be really happy about my line of work. This quote specifically,
that's literally what he said. He literally just said, hooray, I get to go to work and steal
he didn't
people's
say
money.
Me, he said you in general. I think that again, I'm going to be playing devil's advocate because you don't like this guy, so I'm just going to continue to drop. Actually, hold on, Captain Jack. Do not drop screenshots. Don't do that. That's not I think Colin would allow it, but I'm not going to. I'm afraid of what those screenshots will hold. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I think that the point of this quote is basically saying that you shouldn't think about things as you should think of things as opportunities when you can instead of burdens. I think that's generally a good idea. That like, oh, I get to do this. IDK maybe agrees because she's smart. She says I have that POV. I decide that work will be fun or anything I have to do. Have a positive outlook. Come on.
Yeah, getting a job that you enjoy and that doesn't feel like a job is like the best thing you can do for your life.
Right, but even if you have a job that's like not your favorite thing in the world, let's pretend like you don't hate this job, but like it's not your favorite. Instead of thinking it's like, oh god, I have to go to work. Instead, you could think, okay, I get to go to work today. And when you think like that, you realize what the alternative to getting to go to work, which is unemployed or something. And I think that's good. I think
Well,
having this mindset is good.
that's not what I was getting at. I was getting at where you have a job that you enjoy so much, you don't have to make yourself think, hooray, I get to go to work today, because that just happens naturally.
Mace, I don't think that like that's a good ideal, but I don't think that's where everybody is at all times.
Of course, it's not where everyone's at, but it's where they should aim to be.
Right, I agree with this. But do you not agree that that positive mindset where you see things as opportunities instead of like oppressions is probably better for you?
Yeah.
Okay, great. You agree with Andrew Tate. All right, show over. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Quote 3: the man who goes to the gym every single day, regardless of how he feels, will always beat the man who goes to the gym when he feels like going to the gym. I think this is generally true in most cases.
Depends what they're competing
Right.
on.
I mean,
Like,
obviously, like it depends on like again,
if
you
it,
have to take the spirit of the quote.
if
Like
it's
if
a
Arnold,
weightlifting competition, maybe, but
right.
if the guy who's not going to the gym is actually at home studying, and then they have like a science exam coming up, then the guy who studied is probably going to
No.
win.
No. Well, right. Right. Obviously. Like you can twist the quote in ways that like you apply to situations where it's not true. But I think the general idea is like do what you're supposed to do even when you don't feel like doing it because it will make you better. If there's something you're supposed to do but you don't feel like doing it, do it anyway because it'll make you better and it will give you an advantage over the people who don't do that. And
I'd
I think
also
that's
say
correct.
it's not that simple though, because
No, of course it's
sometimes
not
it
that
is
simple.
better to wait till you're in the right frame of mind to do something.
Well, it depends on what it is. I mean, I think that if I don't like, for example, if I only went to the gym when I felt like it, I go to the gym once a week, and that's not enough. Personally, like I don't want to wake up in the morning and go off and do that, but it's a good thing that I ignore how I feel in the moment if I know it's something I'm supposed to do. Now,
Yeah,
like
so
in more
with
complicated,
some things that's true, but with some things it's also not.
right?
So
But
it's just not. It's
he
too
was referring to
complicated for that quote to just be a blanket,
the quote
always
was
true
referring to
statement.
the gym
Okay, so talking about the gym specifically,
and
even
things
then,
like it, like things
even
like it that are
okay,
unpleasant but
let's
good.
stick to the gym specifically. Right,
Yeah,
there have been times where I have tested that out because I was like, oh, I don't feel well enough to go to the gym today. I only got like 4 hours sleep. I should probably just rest today.
well,
But
that's
then I'm like,
different,
no,
Mace.
no, I need to force myself. I go to the gym and I feel sick afterwards and I don't get any gains from it. And
No
I
gains.
just wasted my time. I could have been doing something else.
Sad Mace. Well, again, I think this depends on how you read the word feel. Like, there's a difference between having an injury or a serious hindrance, like insufficient sleep. Sleep more, Mace. Don't only sleep 4 hours. That's so bad for you. Come on, take care of yourself.
Sometimes
But
I might
also,
wake up on a weekend. I've had
yeah,
12 hours, but even then, I still feel too tired to go to the gym. And if I went to the gym, which I have tried, I just don't benefit from it.
Mace, is your advice to don't not go to the gym whenever you don't feel like it? Is that what you're saying, Mace?
My advice, I'm not advising anything. I'm just saying
Uh,
that as a blanket statement, that is untrue. But it
right. But
is
the man
true
in the arena,
sometimes in
he's
specific
not making
circumstances.
recommendations, peeps. And the man in the arena is the only one who counts. You are the heckler. Yeah, I see I see what you're saying. I mean, there's examples where your body, when you say that you feel bad, your body is actually telling you something. But
Yeah.
sometimes you just feel bad because you're like just being mentally weak and like you just don't want to work hard. Jocko Willink has some good. Jocko Willink is a Navy SEAL who is somebody who you should listen to about masculinity more than you should listen to Andrew Tate. His test is basically if you feel bad on a particular day, if you feel tired, go do it anyway that day. And if you still feel bad, then you know that you need a rest. But if you go do it anyway that day, then you know that it's not just mental and you actually have a problem. Or plan out your rest days in advance so you can have something more sustainable. And since it's on a schedule, again, it's not mental weakness, it's just your schedule. So those might be some ways.
Keep telling yourself that. Okay.
just keep no rest days for Mace. I only have rest days when I feel like it. I don't build them into my schedule.
Why are you not in the gym all the time?
Alpha male Mace. because I am human and my body needs rest to perform optimally.
You sleep on a bed, pussy. I sleep on a bench.
I sleep on a wooden slab like the Liver King. I sleep on the ground. Captain Jack says advice on fighting. Captain Jack is just roasting you. IDK maybe says, I love healthy masculinity. Great. I love healthy masculinity too. Andrew Tate is not healthy masculinity. Andrew Tate is the backlash to feminization that you get. But that backlash goes too far.
No. He's a scammer capitalizing on the backlash.
Sure. I'm just saying he's what you get. I'm saying that's probably the ultimate source, but I'm saying that what he represents is basically the pathologization of masculinity. Like he is what you get when he is what toxic masculinity actually is, right? Like when it's like a real thing and not like a fake thing. That would be Andrew Tate in my mind.
I don't know. I'm not even sure what toxic masculinity is, to be honest. I'm not even sure what masculinity is, let alone.
You don't know what masculinity is, mate.
Not really. No. It's not.
Go look
defined.
at Jocko Willink or something, and then you'll figure it out. It's okay. We're gonna do another quote because they're interesting. This one's crazy. This one's a little bit more controversial. He says that women wear makeup because men fall in love with what they see, and then men lie because women fall in love with what they hear. That's obviously he's speaking in generalities. But or maybe he's not. Maybe he's not.
I thought he was making a blanket statement again.
Well, generally, whenever somebody says men and women, you should generally assume that they're talking on average. But with Andrew Tate, he might not be actually. To be fair, I mean, I don't know. Like, there's something to be said that men it's a psychological fact that men are more interested in the visual than women are. So I guess you have half of that quote semi-supported, but
do women fall in love with what they hear? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a woman. Women in the chat weigh in. Do you fall in love primarily on what you hear or primarily on what you see when you're talking to?
I think it's correct to note that for a lot of men, looks are very important and probably the main factor.
Yeah. NV Cap Ryan says Andrew Tate talks about escaping the matrix but buys all of society's highest standards of consumption. Real. So true. I like this critique. He would argue that it's not about the fact that he's rich. He wants like absolute freedom, and part of that comes with being rich and having material things. But like that's a cope. That's 100% a cope. So I'm agree with you there, NV Cap. IDK says that I fall in love with intelligence. Ooh, this is a score for Tate because you don't know if somebody's smart unless they talk. You don't know based on looking at somebody if they're smart.
Also, Andrew Tate claims to be the most intelligent person in the world. So
I mean,
you must be absolutely swooning over him.
He might be. We don't have an IQ test. You don't know.
I don't think an IQ test would test that personally. I'm not a IQ supremacist.
An IQ.
I think there are some people who get high IQ test results, but I would consider them still stupid.
Yeah. Andrew Tate thinks he's Morpheus, but he's really Cypher. Yeah, that right. Yeah. For those of you who don't know I don't know. For those of you who have not seen The Matrix, Cypher was one of the good guys, but then he was a traitor and he betrayed his friends to the machine so he could get like a super rich life in the Matrix. That might be true, but when he says the Matrix, he doesn't just mean the hedonistic stuff. He also means like the governments, the Illuminati, the equivalent of the Illuminati, and like he's in
Yeah,
jail
but
right
he is part of his own Illuminati of the scammers
now. Of the
community.
scammers,
So he's
right?
basically
But they're
saying,
not
don't
running
let
shit.
this other community scam you.
Right,
Come over to mine and let mine scam you instead, which is
right, but
exactly Cypher.
right, but it's just a monetary community. Like it's not the same thing as the people who make the law or have the biggest impact on the culture. Adamus Grove says that that's politicians. Yeah, like I mean Andrew Tate's in jail right now. And it might be because he's a human trafficker. Like that's real. Like he was a digital pimp. Like it is very possible that he was a real life pimp as well.
Actually, I heard that he may even be a rapist. I've heard some.
Yeah.
Have you heard those voice notes that are circling on
Yeah, I
YouTube?
did. There wasn't a lot of context, but I've heard the voice notes and they sound very bad. They do not sound good. Again, I'm thinking like a defense attorney.
They don't sound like roleplay.
No, they do not. They do not. But we don't know the context. And again, thinking like a defense attorney. I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's beyond reasonable doubt. Although, like a jury might vote it anyway, just because it's so bad of how it sounds. But so that might be real. Like he might be that kind of guy, and I wouldn't be surprised. But he also seems like the kind of person who I'd agree who seems like the kind of person who could be falsely accused of stuff. Like he's the type of person who I believe also would be set up. So I'm of a divided mind about this until I get more evidence. He seems like the type of person who would do it, and he also seems like the type of person who would get set up. So I don't know. IDK maybe says he's selfish. Real. Well, actually, here's an argument that he said. He said that he doesn't need to do this, and he has enough money to like just do yachts and stuff. But that he's doing this and putting his freedom and life and reputation at risk because he just cares so much about today's men.
Yeah, that's exactly what Samuel Leeds says. When I went on
bullshit?
the way Samuel Leeds works is he does a freebie starter course, which is just for one day. So I travelled into London for his free 1 day course.
Did you? No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Yeah,
you actually traveled? Oh my god.
Yeah, I was so
Oh, no.
brainwashed by him, honestly. And when I was at the course, the whole course, like, because I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to go on this course and learn all these things about property. The whole course was just him basically brainwashing the audience into having this mindset where money doesn't matter to them. He literally tells them, right, everyone, I want you all to stand up. Now, hold your hands out. This is the attitude you need to have with regards to money. Because if you don't hold your money out and let other people take it, then you're never going to be able to make it. Some bollocks like that, right? And that's basically the whole course.
Oh god.
Just don't worry about money, guys. Just spend it on what you need to spend it on, and then also give it to me. It was really bad.
It's crazy. Yeah. IDK maybe says there are women who like rape roleplay. That is a weird thing, isn't it? That is strange. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he did it. Like there's also been a lot of women who've come out of the woodwork and like defended him. And again, you could argue that they're paid, or maybe he did treat those specific women fine, or whatever. So that's something. There's also been accusations that women who have known him have said that they have been offered money by like news organizations to say bad stuff about him and have refused. Which I believe. Like I believe that CNN tried to track down people who Tate knew and like paid them for negative comment. I believe that that's probably real as well. So it's interesting because like he really doesn't seem like that good of a guy, but this is kind of the thing that makes you and I agree with on the free speech front. Is like he's not that good of a guy, but like this overwhelming cultural attack on him in some ways that are shaky at best in terms of legitimacy actually puff him up. Well, if you just left him to his own devices, I think it'd be much easier to see him for what he is.
Yeah, it is very unfortunate. And what's even more annoying is that these media organizations that are trying to take him down fraudulently are not even doing it for the right reasons. They're not doing it because they know he's a scammer or a rapist. They're doing it because they think he's right wing. And oh, God forbid, like for some reason being right wing is worse than those other two things. It's completely the wrong motivation and the wrong action.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. They're not taking him down for the right thing. They should take him down because Hustlers University is a scam, and he used to be a digital pimp, and his attitudes towards materialism and sexual morality are all bad, and like you should take him down for that. You shouldn't take him down because he's inspiring young men, like because that's what they do. Like that's the thing that they're pissed about. And like if he's inspiring them to go to Hustlers University, that's bad. If he's inspiring them to like work out more and stuff like that, like that's not really the problem. But that's kind of what gets reported on as the problem, which is strange and counterproductive and makes everything worse in my mind. Hold on, chat. I'm not for Andrew Tate being censored for the same reason I don't want to be censored for calling him out or anyone else out. Correct. I don't think the censorship is good. I think that Mace, you and I agree on this. Like you're not going to get rid of the ideas by censoring them. If anything, you're going to make them more like intense. Driving it just puts it underground. Best solution for bad ideas is good ideas as a general rule.
Yeah,
Especially in a public
what the
forum.
media is doing to him, demonizing him and trying to shut him down and censor him in the way they are, absolutely makes him more popular. It's a big mistake.
Correct.
They're causing more people to get brainwashed and fall for his scam.
Correct. He's like, look, the Matrix is after me. I'm Morpheus. And it's like, well, like they're doing it, so it lends a lot of credibility. That doesn't mean he's a good influence, but it means that like he is right about that. Because he's right about this. See, this is what I was saying. Because he's right about the diagnosis, because he's often right about the external reality, that makes people think that his advice and his prescriptions are correct. And that's not generally true. But because they continue to self-fulfill his prophecy of being oppressed, because they continue to fulfill his diagnoses, then it lends credibility to everything else. And that's just, it's not good for anybody, except for him. So, next quote. Showing the most emotion doesn't mean you feel the most emotion. I haven't heard this one. The other ones I'm a bit aware of. I mean,
yeah,
I guess
I agree with that. That's fine.
I mean, that's just definitional. Like, of course that's true. You could feel greatly and not show it. Emotional control isn't a lack of emotion. It's a necessary function of maturity. This is 100% correct.
Sorry, say that again. Emotional control isn't a lack of emotion.
Yes. Emotional control is not a lack of emotion. It's a necessary function of maturity.
Sorry, I'm a bit confused. Who said it was?
Andrew Tate. This is Andrew Tate's quote. He's saying, look, emotional control is not the same thing as a lack of emotion. Emotional control is actually necessary for maturity.
Is anyone saying that is the case?
Yes.
I've never heard that.
Oh, no, you haven't heard that? Like the whole men don't cry thing, where people are upset about the idea that like men don't cry. Have you not heard this? I guess you're British. I guess stiff upper lip is like normal where you are.
I mean, I'm aware that it's not considered very masculine to cry, but
right,
if men don't cry is like a catchphrase from something, I'm not aware of that.
Right, it's a catchphrase because look, the movement is that there's a general understanding that men typically should not cry except in extreme circumstances. They should have emotional control. This has been pushed back against as toxic masculinity because it's like encouraging a lack of emotion or a stifling of emotion or some other phraseology that makes it sound bad and toxic. What Tate is saying is like, look, no, emotional control is not the same thing as not having emotion. Emotional control is actually necessary to like be mature. And I think this is 100% true. This is something like if you've ever heard the term like being stoic, I consider myself a stoic, but that's as the breach of philosophy. But stoicism is often confused with like being cold and calculating, being a robot and having no emotions. And that's not what stoicism is. It's just control.
Stoicism is recognized broadly, at least in English culture, as a masculine trait.
Correct. but it's not. But basically, what Tate is saying is that it's not toxic. It's not suffocating. It's just maturity, and I think this is 100% true. Yeah. We could get. We're gonna see if there's any comments on that in the chat. Nope. Nope. Everyone's in agreement. Everybody agrees with me. I'm glad to see it. Can a tree grow to the heights of heaven without roots in hell? This is not an Andrew Tate quote. Okay, hold on. That's a Carl Jung quote. This website is scamming me. It's not real.
That's like
you want
the
to talk about
second quote
scams?
that
The
hasn't been
first
hit.
ones we read, I know those were real because I've heard them like say them. But then all of a sudden they pulled out a Carl Jung quote and decided it was good. Let's find some other ones randomly through the internet. Oh, here's one. He says that I think women belong to the man. That's a quote. He had to talk to
I
Piers
know that.
Morgan about this. So he said that he didn't mean it in terms of property, but that he meant it in terms of authority. And for example, he said that
Piers went back and forward with him on that, and he
yeah,
was very wishy-washy. Like
right. I'm just gonna make his case.
one minute he's like, I didn't mean it like that, and then the next
Right.
minute he's doubling down on it. So honestly,
Right.
he's just saying whatever he can to get out of trouble.
Well, I'm gonna make the case, and then we can rip it apart. I'm just gonna say what he said. He said that I didn't mean it in terms of property. I'm gonna steel man the argument. Not in terms of property, but in terms of authority. In some situations, he believes that men are responsible for a woman's safety, that in the moment of conflict, it is a man's responsibility to engage in conflict and protect the woman, and therefore they should have authority regarding decisions that include safety. And in that sense, from there you get to the idea of authority, and from there you use the word belong. And that's kind of his argument. That argument is shit because it just means that you're using the word belong incorrectly. Use a different word. Say what you actually mean. It's just like I don't know if he actually means that, but if he did, that guy needs to like use the English language better because belong is not the proper way to convey that idea.
It's also shit because he didn't double down on that explanation. He also gave a couple of other conflicting explanations.
What did he say? Okay, hold on. What did he say?
I don't remember word for word what he said, but he gave several conflicting explanations as to what he actually meant when he said that. So he wasn't being honest about what he meant.
Yeah, gross. Adamus Grove said he meant responsibility when it comes to dangerous situations. That was one of the explanations he gave. And if that's what he meant, then I am not disgusted. If that's actually what he meant, then I'm not really disgusted by his meaning. I'm just kind of disgusted by like bad phrasing. But he said it meant different things throughout an interview. So, what he actually meant is up in the air, I suppose. Adamus Grove says, man is up here in Britain. True. Imagine being up here in Britain. Couldn't be me, personally.
No. He says the phrase man up is spoken here in Britain.
Oh,
but if a man's crying, you say to him, come on, man up, son.
I see. Yeah, man, I think Britain might have a better culture around this than the U.S. does at the moment. NV Cap says, women are adults, men are adults. We are only responsible for children's safety. However, we should do everything we can in a situation to ensure everyone's safety. I think NV Cap is pushing against the idea that a man has any special responsibility to a woman to protect from physical danger or absorb or engage in physical violence on her behalf. I think he's saying that there's no special responsibility there. I mean, what do you think about that, Mace? Do you think that's true? Do you think we're all just adults? Every adult is, we're all just adults and there's no meaningful differences?
I think if you're in a relationship with someone, you have the right to discuss with that person who has what responsibilities. So every relationship can have different responsibility. Every relationship can have a different dynamic. Maybe the woman in that relationship says, I want to be responsible for the safety, or maybe they both agree they want to be responsible for their own safety and not each other's, whatever that. I don't prescribe how people should be in relationships. I think they can discuss that with their partner.
Okay, Mace. Let's imagine you're at it's a pub, right? That's what they're called in Britain.
Yes, we
I'm
have
sorry, I'm being
pubs.
patronizing as a joke. I don't mean it. I appreciate you guys and common law and all that good stuff. Don't forget to always remember I'm joking. But imagine you're at a pub and you meet a lassie. No, that's Scottish. That's not UK. A girl, and you
Well,
guys talk for like
Scotland
an
is in
hour.
the UK.
Huh?
Scotland is part
Yeah,
of
I
the
guess. I
UK.
know that's all
It
confusing. I don't
shouldn't
give
be
a shit.
though.
I don't care. I don't care. What's the UK word for a woman? A bird.
Uh,
IDK. IDK maybe.
yeah, there's so many English words for woman.
Um, um, men are. I wait. Hold on. IDK says men are generally better at threat assessment, and NV Cap is saying generally, hence generalizations. You're making a fallacy of ideology. Yeah, she said generally.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah, all social rules are general.
if you think your boyfriend is better at threat assessment, then you can ask him to be responsible for your safety. He has the right to say yes or no to that. I don't care.
Which like 95% of the time will be true, because the only time it would be the reverse is if you have a more masculine woman, like psychologically speaking, and a more feminine man, like in terms of big five personality. And that's like, I don't know, I think it's like 10% of the time. I'd have to check the stats again. But the idea that like they're like by virtue of personality, a man and a woman is going to be flipped in that situation is pretty rare. And the odds that
Not just
the
personality. Man
right.
could be disabled.
Right, exactly. And then plus physicality. And then this is the big one, is that men are like almost always bigger and than women as well. So that's also part of it. That's also a big part of it. But yeah, like the mace to this question is, let's say you met a bird at a pub in the in the UK and you like talked for like an hour and then you decided you were gonna walk her home because you're nice like that. First of all,
No, I
oh
wouldn't
come
do
on,
that.
you have no devious
Bad
intent.
idea.
You're just gonna
No,
walk
no,
her
no,
home.
no. Don't offer to walk them home when you've just met, because that sets up a negative precedent. It makes you look really desperate, and she's not going to call you back the next day.
Well,
Do not
Mace,
do
let's
that.
pretend like you're desperate, all right? I'm just allow me. And then all of a sudden, there's a mugging, and he has a knife because there's no
Right.
guns in the UK, so they all just stab each other. As far as I
Yeah.
understand, it's Jack the Ripper. Would you feel no instinct to protect her in that situation? Do you not think that it would be your part of your job to protect her because you've met her and had a conversation with her and we're walking her home?
I don't have enough information to make that decision.
What more information do you need, man?
Whether
Come
or
on.
not I'm willing to get violent for someone is so circumstantial. That I can only assess that on a case by case basis.
Again, like this is a thought experiment. We're gonna pretend like running away isn't an option and giving them the money isn't the option. We're just arguing is that, like, opposed to her protecting you, would you have an instinct for you to protect her back against the wall situation?
If she's willing to fight for me, then I'm absolutely willing to fight for her. But if she says, don't hurt me, hurt him, then I'm going to be like, no, hurt her.
You're going to say that? That's
yeah, if she throws me under the bus, I'm dragging her with me.
Oh, God. Your guys' morality is so askew. Yeah, so, I mean, I think that, men as being generally larger and stronger, generally, everybody who's freaking out over there. And then as well as, psychology and like personality. And also, you know what, goddamn it, I will stand on tradition. Men generally have a responsibility to protect women when the need arises and is unavoidable, as opposed to vice versa. And I think that's probably true. So I don't know. And as you say, like in a relationship, it becomes even more clear. But even like just generally, I think that's generally true. I don't know. I have a chivalrous instinct, don't you? Like you're more connected to knights and castles than me in your country. No chivalry there.
I am an egalitarian absolutist.
Oh, God.
Some might even say I'm a bit extreme on that.
We're all adults are just like androgynous widgets. There's no meaningful differences. It's all consent. Nothing else matters. I'm strawmanning the hell out of you.
Consent is actually my moral foundation. You didn't strawman me there.
No, well, consent is important. I think consent is a very important value. I just don't think it's the only value. If my girl is Ronda Rousey, I feel like I need to hold her back. Real. Yeah, like if you have Ronda Rousey or something, like again, but you're talking about like nobody. Like you're talking about a very small percentage of the population. And even if she is Ronda Rousey, like if you're like a big and like really and if you're like a big guy who's taken boxing lessons, you still might be superior in that situation. Maybe. But again, yeah, sure. It's obviously the rule is very general. But none of this excuses using the word belong, which is just the worst. It's just the worst. It's just the worst word to use for Andrew Tate. All right, NV Cap, you have called in. You've been talking a lot in the chat. Welcome, welcome. What are you thinking? How you feeling?
To speak, you need to unmute first.
Oh, is my audio on?
Yeah,
we
I can hear you
now.
What are you thinking, buddy?
Yeah, no, I think I'm just against generalities in general, just because it doesn't, like, even if you say like there's an average, it doesn't mean anything.
I mean, it does mean something. It means that I'm not speaking about all women without exception. It means I'm speaking about women on average. On average absolutely means something.
No, because correlation doesn't equal causation.
What?
Like, so, like, let's say you showed like 70% of such and such demographic is like this. That doesn't actually show there's a tendency towards. Doesn't actually imply a tendency towards that behavior. Like, let's say that we said that people that believed in a flat Earth, 60% of them are violent criminals. Does that mean that inherent belief in the Earth being flat means a tendency towards violence?
On its own, no.
Yes,
on its own, no. But this stat isn't on its own. You know that, right? Like we understand the causal links. We understand the neurochemistry and the chromosomes and the DNA differences and hormones and all that fun stuff. So
yeah, but if anything, that kind of argument would need to be made, but the averages wouldn't be a part of that, would it?
no, but I can. Well, actually, it would because I'm like, all right, look, these are the on average differences between men and women psychologically, and these are the on average differences between men and women physically, and I can explain the causal link between their chromosomes and their DNA and this difference through hormones and biological processes. So like if I just like I'm not sure what you're getting at here, man.
Well, because I mean, even like the Jordan Peterson videos, like I noticed, like if you just type in Jordan Peterson, you'll get like men, women are like this and that because of that. But then there's literally nothing you can conclude from with any of that. It literally just goes down a meaningless rabbit hole with nothing accomplished.
Well, I'm sorry. That's how. I'm sorry. That's how you felt about it. I don't know if everybody would agree with you that it was a meaningless rabbit hole. I guess I have a question. What about like just the word men and women? Like, should we even use those?
Yeah, because it's a biological definition.
Okay, solid. Okay, hold on. I can't believe I'm making this argument. Okay, there are hermaphrodites. There are people who do not fit into either category particularly squarely. What about them? Aren't you ruling that out with your overly general categories?
No.
No, you're not. Really?
No.
Why
Because
not?
a hermaphrodite is a hermaphrodite.
Okay. Well, by the same token, could I say women are generally have this psychological trait? And then if you tell me that some women don't have this trait, some women aren't as neurotic, then I could say exactly what you said. You're like, sure, but women still generally have it, but this woman is an exception. Like,
yeah, but because of the generalization, you would actually be saying the woman that doesn't have those traits has a tendency towards those traits when there's no evidence of it any more than any other demographic would. Because tendency doesn't mean
there is because if you take a demographic of men and you measure them on neuroticism, there is less of a tendency towards neuroticism than women. Then women have a tendency toward neuroticism. That's what the average means, man.
I mean, it could be an average, but just given it's not, given there is an exception to the rule, and their tendency could be lower than a man's tendency. So then, wouldn't it be
right? There's an individual, but for every
something.
individual, there is a higher likelihood that they will. Right, because if you take an individual, there's a higher likelihood. Like a woman is more likely to display a high level of neuroticism than a man is, just statistically, like just literally sheer statistics.
That's why the averages don't matter, because just because there could, so like, okay, so what you just established was, like, let's say there is an exception to the rule, right? Um, then they're like that because they're like that. Let's say like, okay, so you said that women have a higher tendency towards neuroticism.
I'm not saying that. That's true. Women tend to be more neurotic. There's more
Okay,
neurotic
so that's
women than
okay.
there.
So but then that, like, one exception. Let's say there. Would you argue that there could be an exception where they're a lot less neurotic than the average man? Is that possible?
They can be around. They can have a more masculine personality. I mean, it's a normal distribution. It's a bell curve. Bell curves exist like in everything. It's a normal distribution. So yeah, there's like 10% of women who are like have a neuroticism level that's more similar to the average man. That's
Yeah,
true.
but then what that would say is you can't necessarily conclude, based on just what they're just you can't, like, inherently conclude that they're neurotic based on that.
Well,
Like, it'd
no,
be
I
more.
can't look at a woman and say, because women tend to be more neurotic, I know you individual woman are highly neurotic. I can't say that. I can say there's a pretty good chance. There's a 80% chance that you're more neurotic than the average man. I can say it's more likely that you are neurotic, this level of neuroticism than a man is. I can say all these things. Like,
But
look,
then
dude,
you could
averages
get.
and probabilities exist. Like, there's
But
no, like,
then
if you're trying to
yeah,
interpret the world in a way where we get rid of averages and normal distributions and tendencies, like, you can do that, but it's going to be a lot harder to describe the world in a useful way if you do so.
I mean, it's
But
actually it's a very limited lens.
okay. I mean, I literally just solved your problem by saying that you can't apply it necessarily to every individual. You can't say for sure, but you can say this tendency applies to you as a woman. But of course, in that tendency, there's a 10% likelihood that you're not. We're covering the same ground, and I don't want to bore the audience. Do you have anything else? I just don't
Yeah,
want to repeat,
nah,
but if you have something else you want to
nothing
talk
else.
about, I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah, uh, yeah, nothing else. I pretty much agree on, like, the Andrew Tate stuff. That because, like, it was clearly a pyramid scheme before, and then it just imploded.
Yeah, it was looking pretty scammy. Mace tends to agree. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it doesn't look great.
yeah,
Um,
but I'll end it off.
yeah, all right. Thanks, mate. Appreciate you calling in. Come back next week. Gator is saying that my certainty about I can explain causal linkages between DNA and men and women's psychology is on thin ground. Yeah, I know. I know it's thin. It was kind of more. It was more like I could draw the link. Maybe I couldn't explain it fully with where science is at, but these aren't unrelated things. I could tell you where the path should be at the very least. Um, Exceptions do not disprove the rule, says Adamus. Real. Um, Cap is saying that the general rules have no predictive power on the individual level. Is this true? I'm not a statistician. No predictive power? You telling me that I take a man and I take a woman, or and I predict something. Am I not more likely to be right if I predict in line with the average? Like, Mace, is this real? Am I stupid? Do I not understand stats?
I didn't understand what you two were arguing about, so
Yeah.
can't really comment on it. But moving on, I have another Andrew Tate quote here.
Okay, please.
I go out and fuck, and I come back to her, and I don't care about her, and I only love my girl. That's not cheating, that's exercise.
Yeah, that's the worst thing ever. Like, that's the worst thing I've ever heard. That's horrible. There's no
So
defense.
it sounds
No,
like he's
no,
saying
no.
he can
It's
fuck other
completely immoral. I
people,
mean,
but
he's gonna argue.
so long as it's not emotional, then it
Right.
doesn't count as cheating.
Yeah, I mean,
And disagree.
yeah, I mean, it's true that men are wired evolutionarily differently. That's true. Um, and therefore it's like a little bit different, but I think fundamentally it's still grossly immoral. Um, I think like he's gonna make the evolution argument, right? And how that works. The pair bonding chemicals, like they apply differently and stuff like that. But ultimately, it's just immoral. So yeah, that's horrible. I don't
It's
like that.
only immoral if it's against her consent.
if it's not against her consent, then you guys shouldn't really be in a relationship, in my estimation. There's no real point. If a relationship isn't exclusive, why are you in a relationship?
You don't get to decide what relationships are worth other people's time.
No, well, when I say relationship, I guess, well, relationship is too hard to define. It's just if you are in an agreement with another person about, and this agreement is about romantic exclusivity, then to be not romantically exclusive is like not.
So
like,
that's the assumption you're making. You're assuming.
Well, I can't understand why you would have any other type of relationship. Otherwise, just be single and hook up with various people at various times. At that point, I feel like you're stretching the definition of what a relationship is.
No, not at all. Of course, there's such
No?
thing as a polygamous relationship, I think it's called.
Right, but like, first of all, that's weird.
Don't
even
Mormons do it?
Okay, but even then, at least that is still exclusive.
I think Muslims do it too, don't they?
No, yeah, I know they do. I know.
Like the second.
Well, Andrew Tate converted to Islam.
So the biggest religion in the world advocates for polygamy. So
right.
We can't say polygamous relationships don't count as relationships, because clearly that's a large portion of relationships in the world.
I could totally say that. I just did.
Well, you're just wrong then, because like half of the relationships.
Is Islam your moral authority, friend? Is Islam your moral authority, Mace?
It's not a moral authority. I'm just saying the way the word is colloquially used,
right,
is to refer to polygamous and unique. What's the one where you just have one person?
Exclusive. Well, exclusive doesn't necessarily mean one person, by the way. So this is also the other thing that I was going to say. Even in polygamous relationships, at least it's still a closed group of people. Like, if you go outside of the people in the polygamous relationship, it would still destroy.
That depends on what you've agreed with your partner.
I think you mean monogamy.
Really? Well, no, I could be wrong.
Yeah, that was the word. Yeah, monogamous and polygamous. They're the two versions.
Yeah, I was asking Mace if he thought Islam was a moral authority. I was just clarifying that. That's not what he was saying. But no, this is a question. I don't know. As far as I'm aware, of course it is. Gator thinks Islam is a moral authority. I mean, it's a moral authority, I guess. I was asking if it's Mace's moral authority by which he is.
Islam is completely immoral.
Yeah. I mean, Andrew Tate converted to Islam.
But
I guess that's how he's rationalizing it.
Muslims also think a guy called Muhammad split the moon in half. But if he did, why is the moon still in one piece? Checkmate, Muslims.
Hey, I think pretty sure Andrew Tate advocated for these sorts of things before his quote-unquote conversion.
Yeah. Gator is not happy with the show, apparently. Gator, call in if you think it's weak for the fact that we are having a conversation. It's very weak according to you.
What were you guys initially talking about? Just Tate in general?
Yeah, we're just talking about Tate. We're kind of going through some quotes. Here's one. Here's one quote. Females are the ultimate status symbol. People think I'm running around with these hoes because I like sex. That's nothing to do with the reason I'm running around with these B words. I got these B words just so everyone knows who the Dawn is. That's a take. I also think this is morally repugnant. This is not how you should treat other human beings. You should not treat them as status symbols. That might have some evolutionary truth to it. That does apply. If you see a guy with a very beautiful woman, oh, that guy's got it figured out. Sure, but just because that might be an underlying evolutionary reality does not mean that that's a good thing to conduct your life by. You're treating this person as nothing more than a badge. That's gross.
Maybe it's an addition to. Yeah.
He's got it completely the wrong way around there. Having females is not a status symbol. Females are attracted by status symbols, I think would be more correct. Because you could have a low-life drug dealer with no status in society whatsoever, and he has 7 women living with him, but he's low, he's down there. But if you have someone,
are the women glamorous supermodels? Because everyone's going to be like, how did that happen?
If you have someone who's high up in society, then women are going to be more attracted to that guy. So it's easier for him to collect more women.
This is collect like infinity stones. Yeah, see, this is why this is wrong, because like this whole idea of collecting, like these are human beings, these are people, these are women. Like,
Yeah, you can collect
just
people,
not
that's
how you should think about other people. It's just not correct.
Nah, you can
You might
collect
have
them.
different
You just
duties.
don't own them. That's
Like,
the
I
only part
believe
of
that
it.
you have different duties and responsibilities to people, but you don't. But they're still people, and you should still treat them as such. Like this is gross. This is a gross way to treat people. Like, again, like just because there's evolutionary truth under it doesn't mean it's good or right. Again, just he's good at description and not great at prescription. Gator, welcome. You've been heckling for a while. I'm glad to hear from you. What do you think?
Well, I think you're
buddy?
doing yourselves a disservice. I think you're distracting yourselves from actually trying to look at Andrew Tate, the specific man, right? And you're running off down sort of fairly tropish, sort of meandering, generalized arguments about small things, right? I think there's a better value to look at Andrew Tate and try and look at him specifically, because, you know, if you look at his background and you look at the current case now, then there's a big gap based on evidence, right? And you've already sort of had this argument at the beginning that you're saying, oh, he's a scammy guy, right? And he's a grifter, right? Well, you can join all of this up. I mean, I don't have a conclusive answer about what or who Andrew Tate is, but I think it's important to run through some stuff and look at questions around that come out of when you look into him. And I've just been pootling around on the web looking into some stuff right now. I haven't done a lot of research beforehand because I don't think he's actually really worth the column inches. But basically, to go back to his grift, right? So he's had some success in kickboxing. He's decided to essentially follow what would be the game model, the hypermasculinity, the alpha masculinity marketing model, right, which is tied into the Rollo Tomasi game model and day gaming. If you go back, you'll find this, as a thing, a growing phenomenon over the last 10 to 15 years. And what's he done then? Well, he's simply attached a version of a sales pitch about becoming essentially master of your own destiny, which ties into the game model of masculinity. And then he's selling that as a course. If you go on his website, you'll book a 10-minute session to start essentially taking control of your own life, and then come along and join Hustlers University and get rich whilst making Andrew Tate rich for your £50 a month fee, which when you try to quit it, he goes, only losers quit, and you'll stay a loser if you don't keep hold of this Discord server, right? Which is CoffeeZilla's basic analysis. Right. So that is quite a straightforward business model, right? Whether it's right or wrong is not actually relevant, right? Because it's a grift as old as time.
Well, the moral status of Andrew Tate is very interesting to me, actually.
Right, but this isn't necessarily morality, right? Because he can, right, a person can say anything. Talk isn't just cheap, talk is free, right? Andrew Tate may be nothing like what he says he is, right? There's no way to really understand unless you have access that anything that he's ever said is either true, right, or credible. And even the videos of him apparently verbally abusing some woman could have been staged. You would have to know more, right? So
correct.
now what's happening?
What I've been saying. I've been saying that, like, as a defense attorney, nothing here is beyond a reasonable doubt. If that's how we're thinking, nothing here is.
Yeah. Okay.
Damn it! None of it looks great. It all looks pretty bad. But none of it's.
Now, look,
none of it's damning.
I've only been scanning what I can find to try to look at the breakdown of some of the current case. Apparently, he's being detained without formal charge, and they're extending that period whilst they're in the investigation phase. Right? Apparently, according to Romanian law, they can hold him for 180 days, possibly without formal charge, and they constantly extend it.
Right, like the
Now-
U.S. can do this too. Maybe not for as long, but basically they think since Andrew is so rich, and he has passports so many places, like they feel like the second they let go of him, he's just gonna run and get to a different country. So yeah, that's something people might not be aware of. Is like he hasn't been officially charged with anything. They're just holding him while they investigate. So that's
yeah,
right.
so if you wanted to represent Andrew Tate's situation properly, then you would definitely say that he hasn't been charged, and you would try to explain some of the legal mechanism, because Romania is obviously a different legal system to Britain or America, where he's a dual citizen, right? And so because people's perception around arrest is key. It's like, well, you can be arrested in Romania without being charged, and you can be held for this long without being charged, and then in the meantime, the media void will basically paint you as something, right?
Yeah, we
Correct.
did touch on this earlier, Gator. We both agreed that we think this actually makes him look better and encourages more people to go on his
100%.
website.
Okay,
Yeah.
but fair enough. I was obviously trying to look up stuff at the time, but there's other things. I mean, he ran apparently a sex cam website, right?
He's admitted to that. That's not apparent.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
talked about
Right.
it. Yeah.
Now,
Which I think.
Now,
is
okay, you can take that, you can apply a judgment to it, and I'm not applying a judgment to it. I'm just saying you can do whatever you want with that. But that is potentially totally legal. And the question is, the evidence that's generated by that kind of operation or any kind of digital footprint is basically available to be found, and also, well, personally, there is a possibility that he could have be fitted up with evidence on his personal computer, right? And only the integrity of the justice system dealing with him would enable him to be to know that he isn't having digital evidence planted on computers that the police possess, right? So I would always caution believing absolutely the first thing that forensic statements are said, because you know that can be fucked around with, right?
Yeah, and I don't right. I really don't. Like, this is the thing. Like, Andrew Tate, from what I know about him, seems like the kind of person who would be capable of treating women this way. But he also is the type of person who I think would be set up, and he's in jail, but he hasn't been charged. And so for me, the jury's still out, 100%. So
I mean, he sounds like a meaningless dick to me, right? But I can see how, in a time and a place, and with enough visibility, and basically having a big enough, loud enough mouth at the wrong time and place, and then happening to live in a country where you perhaps don't understand the law so much, and you become a target, you actually may become an attractive target. Now, one of his arguments is that he's being essentially used as a political tool to support part of the legal political infrastructure of Romania. I don't know if that's true, right? I mean, it's obviously, you could run interference. He could run interference in his own defense along those lines. But, he's also bizarrely got into that spat with Greta Thunberg going on about his cars, and she going small dick energy and things like that. It all seems incredibly petty to me, right? In some respects, right?
Well, it gets
and this is
attention,
why this is why I have discounted him as a person whose influence is massively overblown.
I would agree that it is overblown for sure. It makes for good headlines. I do think that it's sort of a way to fuel the fire of the feminist brigade, or anyone that's against the manosphere, as it were. So I agree that it's overhyped, but it's still fair to say that there is a number of people that are influenced by him in some way. But
have you guys seen the rallies?
Yeah, I mean, there's people that have.
These are crazy. Yeah,
there are people that in significant number that are involved in his world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the absolute number is probably not all that high, but still, it's pretty crazy that there's a level of commitment among those people to go out and march about it. That's
Now a question for me that comes out of this phenomena, and kind of not Andrew Tate specifically, but more kind of the sort of is it hypergamy? Anyway, the alpha male kind of game scenario is that in many respects, people coming out on the side of Andrew Tate is just the flip side of people coming out on the pro LGBTQ transgender identity politics thing, right? It's one spike one way and another spike another way, right? If you believe in free speech, then essentially both positions are valid. It's not necessarily bad that some people identify with hyper male, whatever it's called, and other people would go the other way and completely denigrate it and then run off and say I'm
Hold on.
unisex, etc.
You made a bit of a conflation there. I mean, I think that I can agree that he should be allowed to speak while also thinking that some of the stuff he says is bad, right? Like, I'm allowed to have a moral opinion on Tate, aside from whether I think he should be censored or arrested or things, right? Like, you seem to mush those two together, unless I misunderstood you.
No, I'm not really saying that you can't have a moral judgment on him at all. No, but fill your boots. All I'm saying is that sociologically, people who want to stand up for Andrew Tate are just the equivalent to people who want to stand up for billions of pronouns and amorphous gender identity. You know, it's just a different. It's just the same. It's a flip side of the same thing, right? Identity politics. Essentially,
yeah, they're both ideology fundamentally. They're both coming to conclusions with insufficient evidence. So
yeah, and so ultimately for me, the only value that Andrew Tate has is in the conclusion of this case to a satisfaction that proves that it's been dealt with fairly, because that will reveal whether or not he is actually put himself into a position or been put into a position of becoming a convenient political target. And that's his own, to me, that's really his only value. Because I'm not affected by his preaching and his scam grift bullshit, right? I'm too old for that, right? But I look,
what's his only value to you?
Is this pop culture identity that he has, which may or may not have turned him into a tool of political convenience, and that will come out as a result of the ongoing thing of his case. I think that's the only real value he has.
Oh, okay. To you, for sure. Do you really not think that what he says has any value, or do you think that's kind of a wash with the scam stuff? Like,
well, look,
he's inspired an awful lot of young men to work out and get serious about their careers.
I mean,
and stuff
seriously, I couldn't give. I mean, I'm surprised that you even bother to sort of pay attention.
The question.
The thing that you first raised is working out. I mean, I'd be, you're more. It's more. You should have said there to me. You should have said, "Are you not bothered about the things he says about misogyny?" Right?
No, I'm just. I could ask you about that too, but you said value, and value just has an inherently positive connotation. So I just gave you a positive example. If you told me that, Tate's only negative impact, I would have said a negative thing.
It comes back to what his grift is. If Andrew Tate is selling an entire grift run off hyper alpha maleness, then inherently he will tell you to go to the gym, work the fuck out, smarten yourself up, right, and then basically put yourself before all else, including women, especially including women, because it's all about you. Right, and that's essentially, broadly speaking, that is reflected in all of the things I've ever heard him say. Right,
right
now, and if that's the grift he's running, then that's the marketing stance he's going to take. Right,
and because it doesn't
mean anything. It doesn't mean anything, but inherently, he could be literally just running a complete marketing game, and he might go home at night, jerk off to some porn, and cry into a pillow.
Well, I kind of doubt that part, but this is actually what me and Mace were talking about. Is it might be marketing. What he's saying to young men, it might all just be marketing. But even if it is marketing, does that mean that it doesn't matter if it's helped some people? I don't know.
Well,
I think it's probably outweighed.
I don't think you can necessarily judge that from not being one of those people on a general basis. You'd have to find somebody who it helped, right? But actually, funnily enough, on a slight aside, 2 women have literally formally stated that the prosecution has claimed that they are victims, yet they've both provided statements that said, no, we're not victims at all. And the prosecutors have failed. but the prosecutors have failed to take that on board or modify their position on these two women. That does look dodgy. I mean, it's only two, right? But
both of them said it's like, yeah, this is not real. And again, this just inflates Tate's credibility and makes him more popular. When you go after him for fake shit, it's just gonna make everybody trust him more on everything, which is not what should be done. We got another caller coming in, so thank you, Gator. Appreciate it. You came in hot, but I think we wound up having a productive conversation here.
cheers.
Cheers. Like, I don't know, like seemed to be pretty reasonable. I don't know why he came in so hot. I thought our show was going fine, Mace. I don't know about you.
Well, I would argue in the same way that he's, grifting or trying to get somebody's marketing, he's trying to get some eyes on his tech so that he can come in hot, and that works too.
Right. Well, he was always allowed to chat. That was always an option. Yeah, I think Tate probably engaged with Greta Thunberg like pettily, like, I don't know.
Well, it's sort of like
because it gets more attention. Like, really, it's probably just because he wanted more eyes.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it also puts.
I'm going to say the most inflammatory thing I can.
Well, it also puts a magnifying glass onto what he's talking about.
Exactly.
Right? So, like the person Greta is, being ridiculous, and he's saying, "Well, look, here's an example of that."
Right, and he's similarly ridiculous. He's like, "I'm going to let my Bugatti run overnight" or something. I don't know what he said.
Yeah,
but
and she's doing the same.
I'm going to burn more on purpose, intentionally, just to it's like just to cancel out the people who are trying to like be conservative with their carbon. It's like the meat eater. He's like, I'm gonna eat 2 steaks just to cancel out a vegan somewhere. Yeah. All right, Jay, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Yo, what's up, man? I was enjoying the last caller.
Yeah, it's interesting, right?
Yeah. I really don't get the people that are like against this guy. I mean, I get the people that are against him because like, hey, maybe he raped some people or something like that,
Right.
But I don't really. I mean, I feel like it's such a dog whistle. Whenever I hear someone complaining about him.
Yeah.
To like this weird politicization or this weird like separation that's going on between. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how I can label it besides. I guess I don't even know what the two distinction between the groups are, but like I feel like most people like I don't know too much about Andrew Tate. I've like watched video essays on him, and I still wouldn't say that I like know a lot about him. But like most people that I talk to, that I just bring up the idea, also don't seem to like have researched or have like read anything that he said or watched 5 minutes of him. Yeah. But most people don't watch him because he's a little cringy and he's kind of annoying, and he's got that kind of cocky, like I'm in your face, I'm better than you attitude that is, I think, hard for a lot of people to watch. And most people's reaction, I feel like, are so like I could predict. It's so instinctual. I can predict what they're gonna say just based on who they are, and I feel like he's become like an icon for that difference. That I don't know how to label that. These distinction
I think you labeled
these two groups.
Yeah, he helps to fit the outrage culture. Just replace Trump with Tate, and there you go. There's your dog whistle. There's your person to complain about of the day. But it's even just as convenient. It starts with a T and it's one syllable. It's very easy to let's grab a person and emphasize that guy so that we can tear him down, or at least use him as a straw man.
Right, and I think it's so. What's so interesting to me is how like. I mean, I can actually fall in line with the whole like this. I don't know, like the what does he call it? The Hustle University thing. Like that seems a little scammy to me, But I mean, 100%. I don't know. Like it's a little scammy to sell shirts on your random website if you make music, I mean, I think it's all scammy if you really ask me about it. But I don't know how people fall so predictably in line with it without noticing. That's what's most astonishing to me. And I can't wait for it to happen with the next character in line. I can't see who it is from here, but I'm sure some other random lively character will just start to gain notoriety, and then that they'll be the new, like scapegoat where everybody will be like, "Oh, fuck this guy," or "Fuck you for hating this guy," type of thing,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. I think he's just like, the latest. He's the latest. What's the word? Like
Yeah,
icon that's
scapegoat. I
like
don't. Yeah,
revealing
icon.
this
I don't know.
split.
I'd really love to see how this thing turns out with the trial. Like if he ends up having come out as guilty for sexual trafficking, I think it'll definitely change the story to some degree. At least
I
depending on
think
the
I think it'll just
evidence.
boost his popularity. It will boost his
Yeah,
credibility.
for
And
sure.
like
Yeah,
it,
like
and for
the
some
the
things, like his
because the
claims about
question
yeah, and like for his claims about how like about the Matrix, about his
exactly.
diagnoses of things wrong with the world, and that like the interest of the powers that be, it's gonna add credibility to that. But it's also gonna add credibility to other stuff he says that probably shouldn't have that added credibility.
Yeah, for sure. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like he's almost fighting against himself right here because if he somehow comes out as free, then it's like the Matrix was wrong. Like you're stronger than the Matrix
No, no,
somehow. Like
no,
even though I
no.
feel
It's
like he
good
said
for him
he's
if he
weak.
gets out. It's good for him if he gets out because it just means he beat it this time. That's all it means. It means he's just Morpheus. Like that. That's like right. Like he just put it
Yeah,
there. It's
no, I
like
guess you're
they
right.
tried to
He's
get
he's
me,
drawn
but
it
they
into a
couldn't get
win-win.
me. I was too strong.
Yeah, it was too strong.
Um,
I mean, sure, but I feel like unless he can prove that it was like a ploy, that it wasn't like just a legit misunderstanding, I feel like it would go against him. I guess that
yeah,
would
you
get
think he
lost
needs
in the
to prove
nuance
that? He
type
does
of
not need to
thing.
prove that. Yeah, the
No,
fact
you're
that he
right. You're
proved
right.
no, no.
No, you're right.
Um,
That'll get lost in the nuance. Who cares? Yeah.
there's an
All right.
interesting
Well, I'll let you
convo
get to the next
happening.
caller though.
No, well, there's an interesting convo happening in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, there is another caller. We'll get to him in a second.
All right.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate you. So another thing happening in the chat where Gator says if Andrew Tate makes it out of detention, and if he might have an epiphany where he goes from hyper maleness towards enlightened transcendentalism, accompanied by a revamp of his website and content. Maybe. Bruce is saying that somebody did that. A guy named Roosh V, who was in the manosphere and now is like monastic orthodox. Yeah, that'd be cool, right? If like Andrew Tate like transitioned to be like a Jordan Peterson figure, that'd be cool. But just like an example of like masculinity that's not like hyper, that's not been pathologized, because that's what Andrew Tate is. It's the same thing as like American Psycho, Patrick Bateman. It's the same thing as Fight Club's Tyler Durden. It's like, yeah, it's masculine, and it's a kickback to a world that is suppressing the masculine, but it's pathologized. It's too much.
I'd be amazed if you did that because I'm pretty sure it's a character. Like that's not who he is. Like I'm pretty sure you can see like.
I'm not convinced. It might be who he is.
You
like,
think?
I would.
I think it's a mix of who. No, I don't think it is who. Like if you fucking are in his house, he doesn't act so verbose. He's not big on the whole "fuck you." These fucking principles have to be jammed in your head. I think he's genuine when he's being like about that, but I think he understands and he's like. I feel I've seen some videos about him when he was like. Yeah, like he's been famous under different regards, like he was a kickboxer and he was like a chess person of some point. And there's like interviews with him in those circumstances, and they are nothing like what like an interview with him now is, like the way that he would come across dressed even is like completely different.
Yeah, well, of
I think that tells
he was
too.
broke back then. Apparently, he was a brokey. Apparently.
Sure. Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, like
right.
I'm sure when he's in front of the
mentality was
camera, I'm
wrong.
sure he exaggerates and he does the showmanship stuff. But like all I'm saying is that I think that like it's probably not like just a straight up act. Like this is probably somewhat similar to what he's like and what he believes. I imagine it's somewhat.
Sure. I think he's genuine, but I don't think that's him. You know what I mean? Like I think he believes the principles. I just think that he's like acting them out type of thing rather than is who he is. But whatever, I get that's more of an opinion thing. Yeah. Like I said, I'll let you get to the next caller. Thanks for having me. I'll see you guys around.
Thanks. Johnny GL says, I don't think it's crazy that prosecutors are in on the gig. You think that the prosecutors are paid to boost Tate's popularity? They're in on it. No, that's pretty crazy actually. Maybe it's true, but that's a pretty wild one. What do you think, Mace? You think the prosecutors are in on it to boost Tate's credibility, his fame?
I don't think they're. Oh, wait, is that on? Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't think they're trying to boost his credibility. I think they think he's right wing, and the legal system has a massive left wing bias slash corruption in it. So
Even in Romania?
They want to. Well, I don't know about Romania, but that's certainly the case in England. So I would suspect that they're trying to take him down for political reasons.
Yeah, I mean, partially. Johnny GL doesn't think it's off the wall. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Hussein, welcome. How you doing, mate?
I'm pretty alright. Hey guys,
How you
Andrew
doing?
Tate.
Yeah,
I
what
did
you
want
thinking,
to
man?
ask. I'm pretty good. I hope he serves every minute of his sentence if they do sentence him,
You
wherever
think
he
he
is.
did
I
it?
guess in Romania. Looks like it. I'm not. I didn't look through the legal course too much or the legal dealings in a specific case, but just listening to a few things, it looks like he was an awful person. But my question really was, or I was wondering when he went on this religious crusade not long ago, going to Saudi Arabia and all that crap. I want to know how much of that was also part of this internet trolling, or I wouldn't call it trolling, whatever it was, internet money making scheme from both sides, like the weird Arab guys or the weird Saudis who had him in the video talking about he's now Islam and having these weird prayer videos. Where in Islam was that ever okay? And how do you guys take it when they were parading around? Like, he changed his religion, he's a changed man. Was this for the court systems itself? Did he know this was coming down the line, that he might get prosecuted? Is that why he did that thing? Because there's nothing in Islam that okays what Andrew Tate does. So I'm confused as to why people, quote unquote, who are online that say they're Islamic were backing him and saying, yeah, this is a decent person. The European lax laws are after him, blah blah, and all that case. I think Mace might disagree with me here because he has right wing tendencies a lot. But my point is, what was that part of the internet game about? I've always wondered the whole Islamic change of religion.
So, I mean, I always assumed it was genuine. You don't think it is?
No, I don't think it was genuine at all, not whatsoever. There's nothing about Islam that okays anything that he does.
Like,
Not even a
yeah,
little bit.
I don't
So
know.
I was confused as to why so-called top Islamic scholars, quote unquote, who live in Great Britain and all these European countries were backing him in his new change of faith.
Yeah, I don't know. You would know more about it than me. Um,
Come on, John. Come on,
Look,
read
I
books.
don't know. Like, I don't know the details of Islamic religion. I have no idea.
No, tell me the
Maybe he's
media,
faking it to give
the
himself
media
a
aspect of
better.
it. Tell me the media aspect of it. Was it
Uh,
for clickbait? I
I don't
think
know.
they
I'm
call it
okay. I'll
clickbait. I'm
speculate.
not an
Maybe
online
I'll
person. Yeah,
speculate.
speculate.
Okay, wild speculation. Maybe it's to try to appeal to the more conservative types. Because,
Hmm.
like, for me, like, I think I believe in monogamy. I know, old fashioned.
Same here.
Maybe by trying to wrap his behavior into a religion, like with his attitude towards women, would make it more palatable to more religious people who he's trying to attract. Maybe, like, I don't know, like that. I don't know if that's gonna work. I don't know if that's true. You asked me to speculate. That's my speculation. It's either that or it's genuine, or at least attempted genuine.
What do you think, Mace? And sorry, are you white Mace or are you Caucasian Mace? I'm sorry that you got offended by me using the white term last time we had an engagement.
Aren't Caucasians white?
Okay, you were confused as to which was which, so I just wanted to parse things out correctly here. What do you think? You speculate as well. Give me your speculation. What do you think that was about, the whole change of faith? And why are your laws so lax in Europe anyway with this type of thing? Do you know that? At least you can tell me that part.
Well, it's not that the laws are lax; it's that they don't have sufficient evidence. They haven't even charged him with anything. The
Oh,
two
wow.
women who they said were the victims said that it wasn't true. Now, like, maybe he bribed them to say that or extorted them or something. Like, maybe,
Hmm.
but like, you can't say that the laws are lax. That, like, if the evidence isn't there, the evidence isn't there. Like, and it doesn't
I
look
mean,
like it is right now.
I'm American, so he wouldn't dare try to pull that thing here. Hence why he needed to go to your all's place to pull this kind of crap. I don't know if you're European, John. This is for Mace. He has that accent. I can tell.
Yeah, I'm not European.
Sorry, are you asking me why he converted to Islam?
No, he. I mean, yeah. At first, he asked you why he converted to Islam, if you think it's real, and also why if it's not real. Then he also asked you why Eastern European or wherever he is, those laws are so lax that it's why he decided to set up, as opposed to somewhere like America.
I wouldn't know the answer to any of those things. I could speculate, but there wouldn't be much.
He wants
my
to
guy.
speculate wildly, Mace.
Maybe he's come out as a Muslim because most of his online victims are Muslims. So by saying he's one of them, he encourages more of them to buy his get rich quick scheme. Why he lives in Europe, maybe he was born there and just likes being close to home.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Hussein, thank you. We got two more callers. We got two more callers in a big chat, and it always gets busy right before I need to go because we have a 2-hour show today. We're gonna blitz through the chat real quick. Dan called you obtuse, Mace, for saying that like the legal system is tilted left. He thinks you're obtuse. So whatever that.
I'm also correct.
Purple Pundit says he's not an entertainer who's not trying to be a role model. He wants to influence folks' behavior. It's his friggin' occupation and the source of his loot. If it's an act, how is that not horrible? Well, if it's completely artificial, it is horrible. I don't think it's artificial. I think it's just semi-exaggerated. Nivik says, I mentioned him being right. Why? Okay, so Andrew Tate is not a conservative. So in terms of like American conservatism or even, I imagine, anything in the English-speaking world, I don't know if he'd be considered conservative. But you could say that he's right-wing simply because he believes in things like financial independence, traditional masculinity, and then also the other pathological things he believes about masculinity. But part of that is traditional masculinity that conservatives would agree with, and then he adds on some stuff that conservatives wouldn't agree with. And then he also like yells at feminists for being stupid, and he notes a lot of the problems with the world that conservatives would note. So there's a lot of overlap in description and a little bit of overlap in terms of describing the world. And there's a little bit of overlap in terms of how he thinks people should act.
I don't think it's fair to take him on his word for any of his beliefs, though, because for all we know, and I would say this is likely, he will just say whatever he can to get his target audience to buy his course. And his target audience is going to be capitalists who think they can get rich. It's not going to be socialists, is it?
Right.
Because socialists don't want to work for their money. Socialists want to get benefits.
Well, also, Andrew Tate is also an industrial person, so I wouldn't be surprised if he actually has these beliefs. Like, again, it could be all a sham, but I'm not going to assume he's outright lying. But again, you asked why I mentioned him being right wing. He's not actually like conservative, but like if you had to put him somewhere on the political spectrum, the things he says would be considered more right wing than left wing. Certainly, I don't, but I wouldn't call him a conservative by any means. Bob Powell Prince says Andrew Tate was a former MMA fighter who had a podcast putting feminist women in their place. Vlad's in the caller queue, so we're going to talk about that particular phrasing in a second. He was accused of sex trafficking and other fake and baseless accusations and got caught while receiving a pizza delivery in Romania. Yeah, that's not what happened. They knew where Andrew Tate lived. The pizza delivery had nothing to do with it. That's fake. I know where you heard that. It's not real. They knew where he lives. He lives in a big house in Romania. Like everyone knows where Andrew Tate lives. Where his house in Romania is. He was accused of sex trafficking. And there's not enough evidence for it. That's true. That doesn't mean it's not true. It just means that they don't have enough evidence. But it seems like Vlad is in support of the Tate. Dan says if you look at Andrew's history, it displays a pattern of opportunism. He recognizes that most of his fan base is diminishing because of his recent scandal. An opportunity has arisen, which is defense by the Muslim community, and thus to join that community is a place to maintain and continue some sort of revenue stream. Yeah, but I think he converted to Islam before he got arrested, I believe. I believe. If not, then Dan's probably 100% correct.
Well, if he is actually guilty of his crimes, then he would have known his arrest was coming, because that sort of thing doesn't stay secret forever.
Maybe that's right. Awful symbol of Islam to people, probably true. Awful symbol of what traditional masculinity looks like. It's it's pathologization. It's like Patrick Bateman or Tyler Durden. It's too far. It's an overcorrection. It's not good. One of the people indicted is a Romanian police officer. They have audio court recordings. Why are you just saying stuff? I'm not just saying stuff. I've heard the audio recordings. The audio recordings sound really bad, but they're not damning because there's not enough context. The two girls who are apparently the victims said that the plaintiff was lying and that they weren't victimized at all. That's what we call reasonable doubt, Dan. I'm not just saying shit.
Yeah, we would need more evidence to validate these.
In order to overcome the idea of the women saying they weren't victimized, you need like a multi-hour. You need a voice recording that gets entirety of the context of that conversation. And the clips,
actually, it wasn't a voice. They weren't voice recordings. They were voice messages that he sent to the women.
Yeah. Well, regardless, again,
so they weren't secretly recording him.
Right.
This wasn't like an Amber Heard scenario. This was him recording himself and then sending it to them.
Well, again, all this is to say that those statements are really, really, really bad. But without context, they don't overwhelm the fact that those women deny being victims in the first place. That doesn't overwhelm that to the point that there's no more reasonable doubt. So that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. Tate gets out of jail free card because of white privilege. Tate is biracial. Charges won't hold. True.
I've just posted a new Andrew Tate quote, by the way.
Okay, we're taking Alistair. Mace posted a new quote. We're going to talk about it real quick, and then Alistair, you can weigh in on this and then say whatever else you wanted to say. I had one girl and she got too drunk one day and she threw up in my apartment. I told her to clean up. She refused, so I took her stuff and threw it out the window. How high is the window? If it's like one story and you're like dropping it and it's not droppable, like I guess it's not property destruction, but no, that's not.
If there's like a laptop in there, then that's pretty bad. But
yeah, I mean, like. Yeah, like that's not good. That's not how you should treat people. Like that's gross. Don't do that.
Oh, I think there were wrongs on both sides there. Because first of all, she shouldn't have thrown up in his apartment. That was rude. Second of all, she then didn't offer to clean it up, which is even more rude. Third of all, when he told her to do it, she said no, which is even more rude. But then again, also, he shouldn't have told her to do it. He should have offered to do it himself as the host.
Right.
Like both of them. If you vomit on someone's floor, both you and the host should both be arguing with each other, saying, "I'll clean it up. I'm sorry. No, it's okay.
Wait, Dan,
relax. I'll clean it up." You know, it should be
like that. Are you
that.
saying there's pre-existing social responsibilities and duties? I thought like they needed to like have a consensual contract about the responsibilities here beforehand.
You're talking to me?
Yes.
I thought you call me Dan.
Oh, sorry, Mace. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But like this is an interesting thing, Mace, that you are positing pre-existing social roles, duties, and responsibilities, regardless of consent. Like this woman never.
This isn't a question of morality. This is just a question of politeness. It would have been polite for both parties in that scenario to offer to clean it up.
Stops,
and then perhaps a compromise could have even been reached where they both help each other clean it up.
So your line of politeness.
Instead, both of them refuse to clean it up, which is just weird.
Yeah, it's interesting where your line of politeness ends. It ends at like chivalry and like men protecting women from physical harm as a default mode of behavior when faced with violence. But it doesn't end. But it applies to vomit. This is interesting. Interesting to learn more things about you, man. All right. Next caller. I'm sorry. Alistair, welcome to the show. Sorry. Tell us, what'd you call for? What you thinking?
Hey, man. Thank you for letting me get through.
Sure thing, man. Appreciate your patience.
Yeah, of course. My buddy Lance, he texted me and he said, "Oh, you need to listen to this. It's interesting." and take his word for it.
Nice.
I think with this whole Andrew Tate thing is the sad thing about it is the platforms that we are given and how fast the information spreads. Correct, right?
I mean, yeah,
So
Andrew Tate went viral.
everybody wants to take a side very fast, and they want to take their stance, and they want to be um, the one that people reasons with, and there's no wrong and there's no right in the situation.
Really?
When it comes down to it, it's like, for instance, it's the girls versus them. It's them versus the Romanian government. It's them against their own demons. Let's say he was a kickboxer. He liked violence. Girls know this before they go over to his house and things like that.
What?
It it goes down through a whole chain of command. Like, I wouldn't show up to Andrew Tate's house thinking that on a night of partying that there might not be a little bit of violence. These are kickboxers. These are people that were growing up in Romania, and they have all these
I'm
different passports, and they act like the
I'm
top
sorry. Are you
G's.
arguing that the women who interacted with Tate should have expected violence and like tacitly
They shouldn't.
consented to it?
I don't think that they should have been aware, and that's not right. I'm not saying that that's right.
Okay, cool. You agree that
No
that's not right.
woman should no woman should walk into any place feeling uncomfortable and expecting violence. I'm just saying, around those types of people, you sh- in a common sense world, it is one of those things where violence kind of happens to follow those groups of people, right? And now the sad part about it is I've also watched things. I'm out here in Johannesburg, South Africa, so we get load shedding, so I don't get as much information as you guys do. But uh, the thing about it is I've heard him talk, and I've heard him talk about feminism, and I've heard him talk about, all these different things, and he has very, very great views on some situations, and he knows how to talk and platform himself correctly. Now, if it was pushed to a positive vibe, he could have done so much better for himself instead of getting himself into this mess that he is today.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. I think that there were some. Um, I think there are some things that he says that are good, and a lot of things that he says are bad. And if he had been more like had a positive attitude and been less like pathological, he could have avoided this. I think that's true. Probably. Thanks, Alistair. Appreciate you, man.
Yes. No, I appreciate you guys. And sorry, it was just on the fly. It's 1 o'clock in the morning here in South Africa. I'd love to join you guys some more.
Hey, yeah, come back next week.
Yeah, of course. Hope you guys have a wonderful evening or a day or whatever it is.
Oh, shnikes. I'm
Ladies
so
and
sorry.
gentlemen, how's every?
I cut
It's
him
all
off
good.
on accident. Hey, Alistair, I'm sorry. That was an accident. But yeah, good to hear from you, Vlad. You're the last caller tonight. I do declare no one else call in, I swear. I wanted you guys to call in the whole time, and now it's over. So yeah, Vlad, what are you thinking, man?
So basically,
what did I say? What did I say? There you go.
Okay. What do you guys think? So he's gonna be they're gonna let him go, or is this a political?
Well, it depends on if they have evidence.
Okay. So he's still in a Romanian jail. He's not gonna be sent back to England or anything like that, right?
No, I don't think so. Like he has citizenship. I think he has multiple citizenships, I believe. I know he has multiple passports.
Okay.
But he might no, I think that they will hold him for literally as long as they're legally allowed to.
Oh shit.
100%. Yeah. So even if they find sufficient evidence to charge him, I think they'll probably charge him. I think they'll probably do that. I think that they'll probably charge him. Whether or not he gets convicted is an open question. But I think they'll hold him as long as they're allowed to, and then charge him with whatever they find in that time period. I could also be wrong, but that's what I imagine. That's what I see happening. But I don't think they will cut his jail time short when they realize they don't really have enough evidence. I think they'll just keep looking as long as they can.
And the taking away, what was the whole point of taking away all his cars? Or yeah, they took a lot of his sports car.
They're seizing assets. I mean, I don't I'm not aware of the particular purpose. I'd have to brush up, but seizing assets is something that often happens when a wealthy individual is imprisoned. It might be to reduce the chance that he's a flight risk, like as to make sure it's like they have something of his that he wants, or something. But again, he's in jail, so I don't really know the point. But again, it might be political. Like again, this is why I don't know. It's because he's the type of person who I would believe would be set up for political reasons. But he's also the type of person who I believe would probably have done the things that he's accused of. So I don't know.
So would you say his major crime is mostly the sex trafficking, or he has
Yeah,
other
sex
charges?
trafficking and potentially rape as well. And again, like he was
Potentially,
an OnlyFans pimp. Like he was in the arena. Like I know it's legal, but like it's pretty close, in my mind. So
all that porno, brother, all that live
all
porno
porn.
right there.
Yeah.
It gets you the
Treating
money.
women as objects. Oh, they
Exactly.
consented to being treated as objects. Okay, congratulations.
We're the feminists in the house, so back this shit up, man.
Like
we're
it's
not
not a
all that.
crime. Mace is dying over there because consent is important, and it is. But it's not the only thing in my mind.
I don't know. I look at Mace. I look at that face, dude, and something tells me there's a lot. There's an Andrew Tate in the making right there. I just kidding around, man. I just got to get a. I just got to.
Nivik
says
says nothing wrong with being an MFer. It's really about how smart you are about it, right, John? I think what he's trying to say. Ooh, IDK maybe just called you cute, Mace. Hey yo.
Oh, Mace.
Nice. Hey.
Look at you. You're the man.
All right,
You're
but
the man, man.
Nivik is saying. I think what Nivik is saying is that the lack of evidence shows that Tate is just being smart, and therefore, like, dude, you're still assuming that he did it without evidence. Like saying that. Like, this is stupid. If the bar is that if there's no evidence, it's just because he was smart about it and he's guilty either way, that's an unfalsifiable claim. That's a stupid way to go about doing justice.
Another thing, too, John, Romania is not known for being the paragon of justice either. They got their fair share of being very
capital of the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
what is his racial makeup exactly?
So Andrew Tate is biracial. His dad was Emery Tate, who was a real chess guy, and he was black, and I think his mother was white.
Okay.
Like vaguely. He's biracial.
So he's only using part of his white privilege, right? Not full white privilege, just half white privilege, right?
Hey, that's why he hasn't been charged yet, but he is still in jail because it only gets half.
Whereas if it would have been a guy like Mace, he would have been using his full-fledged white privilege right there.
He would never have gotten arrested, right? Like,
right? Yeah. He would have fled the country. He would be over here in America making movies.
Real.
In Hollywood.
Not real. Complete fantasy. Tate has actually responded to this when people have talked about how Romania is the sex traffic capital of the world. He called everybody racist for profiling him that way, and I thought that was kind of funny. It doesn't work, obviously.
I don't know. When they say Romania, I get a Transylvania thing. Am I right? Something.
No, I mean it's in
Dracula.
It's in Eastern Europe, but yeah. Again, he might have done it.
I hope not. And I hope he comes out. I was beginning to listen to him throughout the year. As soon as the late Kevin Samuels died last April, I thought he was going to take on it that role. But the thing is, I just didn't like his style. As you know, Kevin Samuels was very controversial, but he was very direct and very offensive. But I learned a lot from him in regards to many cultures, especially his own. But I thought Tate was going to be the man that would take the mantle. But once I saw all this shit, I was like, oh, forget it. Like that, you know. Anyway, guys, I hope to see you in another program. Who's coming up next?
Yep. Next week, come back here. Good to see you.
Do you have any more quotes?
Yeah, we can. We'll go through chat and we'll do one more quote and then we'll be done.
I actually have 3 more I wanted to do.
You want to run through 3? All right, I'm gonna go to chat real quick.
The last one is the best.
Okay, we're gonna do chat. We're gonna do these last 3 quotes rapid fire, and then we're gonna be done. Nivik says that I like him. I didn't say that. I never said that I liked Andrew Tate overall. I never said that, so don't lie. But not how you're saying you like him, but he goes about things where you can't defend him, too openly sloppy. Okay, even if I did like him, that doesn't mean that I defend everything he does. first of all, I don't like him as a person. I think he's like kind of a gross person. And second of all, even if I did like him, that doesn't mean I have to defend everything he does. Like there's like multiple things wrong in there. It's like a spiral, like a Russian nesting doll.
He's so
of
gross.
things.
He's like Baldilocks and the three hairs.
Yeah, it's just you're hilarious. YouTube chat real quick because I've been neglecting them the entire time. This guy is saying that one question is working the 9-to-5 job still an honorable thing for a man to do, or are men expected to do more and earn more, be a winner or a loser? Other question is feminine poised to consume all of culture? Should everything be looked at in that lens? So I think,
well, John, I'm glad you asked. I would say that working a 9-to-5 job is a prison, and what you need to do is you need to become financially free by signing up to Hustlers University, where we will teach you how to earn your own money on your own time and be the master of your own destiny.
Well, I think it is good to become financially free. I do think it's probably good to diversify my income and invest a little bit. I don't think I need to buy your shit to do that. But I think the challenge that this guy on YouTube is posing is like, well, if you look at this in the terms of an incoming feminist cultural apocalypse, is Andrew Tate like a necessary evil, like a weapon against it? I think that's kind of the idea. Is basically, is he like a necessary evil? My answer is no, because everything he's saying has been said by other people better. Jocko Willink, Jordan Peterson, David Goggins, Andrew Huberman. Like, read those four. Those four are really good, and they say everything Andrew Tate says. They should get the notoriety that he gets. Okay, give us their quotes, mates.
All right. Here's one. Talk about tradition. Traditionally, every single man in history had multiple wives, and there was not a single woman who was celebrated for having multiple husbands. Female promiscuity has always been disgusting and frowned upon.
I think he's probably technically wrong. I think I've heard about like some tribes somewhere where that's like not true, but like
yeah, he's completely wrong. Like, he's definitely not a historian.
You don't think that's correct?
He's just making up history.
Do you know it's wrong, or do you think it's just baseless, or do you know it's wrong?
It's completely baseless, and I know it's wrong.
Well, to me, I'm like, here's what I'm gonna say. I'm inclined, just evolutionarily speaking, to believe it, because women, let's say, like before, back in real old tradition, they'd get pregnant, and then a guy could go to as many women as he liked, and stuff like that. Like you could make an evolutionary argument that it's more common for men to be promiscuous, and it's less common for women to be promiscuous.
But he doesn't say that. He says
I know
every single man in history had multiple wives.
I know. Yeah, of course. Like his claim is obviously not real. It's hyper exaggerated. I'm just like, I'm pushing for the kernel of truth that might be inside of it. That doesn't make the whole thing true or good. I'm just trying to understand why he would say something like this. And I think that's basically the argument. And this is like a justification for why it's okay for him to like mess around with multiple women, and it's not okay for his for women that he's with to do that. In reality, it's wrong for both of them. Actually,
in reality, it depends on what the terms of their relationship are.
In reality, we're not all computers, and consent is not the only value. And you can try a polyamorous relationship base. Look, let me know how long-lasting and happy and fulfilling it is, and then get back to me in 20 years. All right, let's go next quote.
Right, where's the next one? Yes, here we go.
Yeah, but obviously that's wrong. Men shouldn't act that way. You could argue that it's different, but you couldn't argue that they're different enough for them not to both be wrong, because they're both wrong. You can't, Andrew Tate quote Mace has posted, you can't be responsible for something that doesn't listen to you. You can't be responsible for a dog if it doesn't obey you, or a child if it doesn't obey you, or a woman that doesn't obey you. Jesus Christ. Jesus. I mean, like, the point that it's difficult to be responsible for something that you have zero.
No. He doesn't say difficult. He says you cannot be responsible.
You cannot be responsible for something you don't have control over. Like that, I feel like that's probably right. But Jesus
No,
Christ,
no.
how
That's
are you
completely
responsible for
wrong.
things you have no control over?
If you're a dog owner and your dog runs away and bites someone, you need to take responsibility for that.
Right, but you have control over that dog, though. Like, it's your dog. You should have it on a leash.
You
It
told the
belongs to
dog
you.
sit, and the dog ran away and bit someone.
Right, that's
The
your
dog was
fault.
completely out of control, and it is your fault.
Right, no, it's your fault because if the dog like normally obeys you and it doesn't, it's your fault. But like, let's say it's a random dog,
Even
that
if it
goes out
never
on the
obeyed
street.
you.
Huh?
Even if the dog never obeyed you, it's still
Well, then
your
it's not
fault.
really. Then how is it yours? Right. Like
Because
if you have a dog that you have chained up and it completely ignores you and never listens to you, it's very difficult to make the argument it's even yours in the first place.
If you capture
You could
a
have
dog,
you have control
and
over the
chain it
dog. You
up,
could have
and
kept it on the leash.
you say, "This is my dog now because I say so," and I mean, let's say it's all perfectly legal and above board. The law recognizes this as your dog. Who are you to say it's not their dog now?
Gator says that you have control over the dog if you could have kept it on a lead. The law doesn't agree with Mace. I think the point that he's making is that you are responsible for your own dog. You are not responsible for like a dog you met on the street that doesn't listen to you. But you are responsible for the actions of a...
No, disagree. If you capture a dog off the street and you relocate it somewhere where there are kids playing, and then that dog goes and kills one of the kids,
Like
you're
a pit bull?
responsible. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you responsible? Yeah, of course you are. It's your dog. You have control over it. You brought it there.
We can also go one along in this quote to the "you're not responsible for a child who doesn't obey you." Yes, you are. You are responsible for your own fucking kids. If you're one of those parents who's like,
I see.
He's not listening to me. I can't take responsibility.
This is a disagreement in level of specificity. So at the level of specificity you're talking about, you're 100% right. Just because it doesn't obey you once does not mean that you're not responsible for it. That's true.
No, even if your kid never obeys you, you made that kid, you're responsible for all the damage it causes. I absolutely 100% blame Hitler's mum for everything that happened in World War II.
I blame Hitler's mum.
Unironically. I think she should have been a better parent.
Unironically.
Yeah.
I mean, wait, actually, hold on. This is not a good argument for you. It's not Hitler's mom's fault. Her kid was a psychopath.
It is. She didn't bring him up right.
But but like partially, but you couldn't hold her responsible for the Holocaust. You cannot put Hitler's mom in the same moral category as Adolf Hitler.
Obviously, they both share some responsibility for it.
Some. Like, a little bit.
But she is still responsible in some way for the actions of her
demented take. This is a demented...
It's not a demented take, not at all. I think parents have a responsibility to make sure their kid doesn't become a murderous psychopath.
Yeah, but, I mean, some responsibility, but we're just talking level of responsibility. I guess, I'm still manning this. I guess the idea is that it's difficult to be responsible for things that you don't control, generally, even if you might not, control them in the specifics that generally aren't in your control, and therefore you can't be responsible for it. I think that's fine. I think that idea is fine, but that's not what he says. He talks about a child and a dog, and then he compares that to a woman, which is just not.
Yeah, I don't like that he compares he compares a woman to a child, a dog, and a thing. He even says a thing. He describes a woman.
I think child and dog is worse enough. I think
I think thing is the worst thing. He described a woman as an object that you either can control or you can't control.
No, he was going into a list.
If it doesn't listen to you, then it's not your fault.
He was going into a list of 3 things. Not all of them are humans, so thing is just the catch-all. Oh shit! I just said 3 things. Oh no, I'm a misogynist. But yeah, comparing the woman to a dog is, pretty ridiculous. This is the thing about Tate. It's a lot of it's just garbage, and I think the way he meant it was garbage. But even if there was some nugget in truth in there, it's not how he meant it. And even if it is how he meant it, he didn't convey it particularly well.
How do you know what he meant?
I mean, I'm not assuming the best here. Are you?
Oh, I'm assuming the absolute worst.
Yeah, I know, Mace. All right, last quote. Let's go. I wonder what Andrew Tate's mother feels like. That's a good question.
I hope she is ashamed.
A human should have a capability to dominate a dog. True. And if you can't control it with your voice, you should have it on a leash. If it's your dog and you own it, you are right. You are responsible. But see, even in that scenario, maybe that supports Tate's point because you could control that dog with a leash, but chose
No,
not.
I disagree.
It's your fault.
You can never be sure you have control of a dog. It's a living
You have
animal.
a leash. You can be
It
dead
has a
sure you
mind
have
of its
control
own.
of the dog. You have a leash.
Yeah,
It has a
you
mind of
need
its own, but you can
need to
limit it.
leash your dog because you cannot control it.
You cannot control it with exclusively verbal commands. There's different types of control.
Okay,
Right.
yeah, I suppose it just that's a semantic issue there.
Oh, I mean, we're talking about quotes here. All right. 18 to 19-year-old women are more attracted than the 25-year-olds because they. I'm not reading that because they've had less partners.
That's verifiably incorrect. There are some 25-year-olds who are still virgins.
Well, yeah.
There are some 18-year-olds. There are some 18-year-olds who've been doing it since they were 15. So
yeah,
it's
well,
like,
let's assume he's
nonsense.
Well, let's assume he's speaking in generalities. I think it's probably generally true that the younger you are, the less sexual experience you have. Would you agree?
I don't think you can make that.
Wow, you think there's no correlation there? Really?
I don't think there is. Yeah, I think it depends on where you brought up and like your relationship with relationships.
Oh come on! Don't do that. We both know
it is. It depends on how your parents brought you up.
Saying,
really.
yeah,
Did your parents bring you up to save it for marriage, or like it all depends.
Right. You cannot use it to. Nivik is saying break the dog's legs to control it. So wow. Jesus Christ. I guess he's not wrong, but Christ, I'm pretty sure that's animal abuse. But yeah, like Mace, this is the argument I was having with the other guy earlier. It's like, okay, on an individual level, age does not have a whole bunch of predictive power. But like on an individual level, you can't do it for sure, but there's still tendencies. And I would bet you like literally all the money I have that the general tendency is that younger women have had sex less than older women, just as a matter of like literally less time to do so. Obviously,
Honestly,
there's going to be. Obviously, there are going to be aberrations.
The correlation would be strong enough. We're going to need to see some data on that.
I can't believe this. Hey, chat. Right? Hey, chat.
Because also it would massively depend on how
attractive they are. Type L if Mace is crazy right now. Type L if Mace is crazy. I need L's. Show me the L's. Are you serious? You're seriously not accepting this premise?
I'm serious. I really don't think there is.
Okay, so let's pretend we accept this premise just for a moment. If you accepted this premise, would you
if we accept this premise, that's his personal opinion. Some guys prefer older women, so it's not objectively true either way.
Could you make a evolutionary? Again, I'm just going evolutionary because it's the only way to defend anything this guy says. Like evolutionarily speaking, like younger, just God, this sounds very gross to say, and this is not how I think about women. But again, purely evolutionary speaking, if you're younger, it means you have like more childbearing years left and therefore more attractive. Would that be? I mean, again, yeah, I'm grasping at straws to defend this guy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think it might be historically true, though. I mean, I think young women have historically been sought after as opposed to older women, like just as in terms of historical beauty standards. Would you not agree with that, Mace?
Sorry, say that again.
In terms of historical beauty standards, young women have been historically sought after. Like the virgin is like an archetypal idea. Like,
I don't think that's really the case nowadays. And it's
nowadays is a really bad metric for like underlying reality.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know historically if that was the case or not.
I mean, like, dude, like now. You know how the virgin, how like the dragons
the only people that have obsessions with virginity are pedophiles and Muslims, which are oftentimes the same thing.
Excuse me, what? That's ridiculous, dude. You're calling like basically all humans forever like pedophiles, like and Muslims. You understand that like in the Western canon, like the knight didn't just go slay the dragon for the treasure. He also like went to go save the virgin, like specifically not attractive young woman.
Virgin, no, princess.
No. I'm telling you, this is in the legends. This is in the folklore for like a long time.
Well, nowadays I only ever see Muslims raving about virginity now.
Yeah, well, they get like 88 of them or something. That's probably the wrong number.
72.
72 when they go to the afterlife, apparently. Yeah. Well, here's the
But
thing.
I don't think that's relevant. It's not relevant because most people don't think like that.
That's true.
At least most atheists don't think like that.
Most people don't think like that anymore. At least not explicitly. I think Tate's making the argument that like implicitly, like subconsciously, that's what people want.
Oh, I don't.
There's also the argument.
Not a factor for me.
There's also the argument that it's not just physical. It's that you want, your and your partner's time together to be intimate and special and unique, and like it. Like I personally feel this way. And this goes for me too, by the way. This isn't just something I impose on women, as I think it's better if you haven't had a ton of partners before you have the person who you want to be with forever. I think it's more special if you're with the person you want to be with forever. Now, again, that might be old-fashioned and overly ooey-gooey, so feel free to make fun of me. There's a way to, not the way Andrew Tate phrased it at all, but I think there's a way to value virginity or chastity in a way that's not creepy.
Oh, yeah, do it then.
Huh?
Do it then. I can't hear you if you turned your mic on.
What do you mean, do it, exactly?
But you money where your mouth is. You say, oh yeah, you can evaluate virginity without sounding creepy. Do it.
That's not what I said. I said you could value it. I just did.
All right.
I just valued it. I said about having this is why like Christians say wait before marriage, so you can have this intimate act shared only between two people, and it feels more intimate and special than if your partner has done it with a whole bunch of other randos or people before you. Then it feels less special. You feel less special. You feel less important and connected. Like this is why Christians say wait until marriage. Like that's the reason. And I like, again, you don't have to agree with that, but you don't have to be a pedophile to think that might be a worthwhile value.
In the context of Christianity, you're talking about adults. They're not. I don't think Christians.
Wait, hold on. Were you assuming the whole time virgins were kids?
No. In Islam, they are. In Islam,
well,
they promote.
I don't know anything about that.
They promote marrying the kid as young as possible.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, well, that's not what I'm saying. Okay. Well, overall, it's still kind of a very creepy and weird way to quote to get this idea across. Probably because it's not the idea he was trying to get across. I don't know what he was trying to say. Well,
I mean, it's pretty black and white what he said there. He thinks.
Well, I think he's saying like young women generally have less sexual experience,
and he thinks experience is bad for some strange reason.
Well, it's for the reason I just gave, but maybe not for him because he's happy to do it with as many people as he likes. But he thinks it's one-sided. And
he's very hypocritical.
Yeah, like again, like if he said this,
if
he said this, and he also said this is true of men as well, like I would be more inclined to agree. But because he's so one-sided about these standards, it just turns it very gross and objectifying. But like if he said it's like if he went the Christian route and said this applies to men and women both, actually, neither of you should act like boars, then it'd be much more reasonable.
I think the worst thing about this quote, though, is that he's talking about his own personal preferences as if they're everyone's preferences.
Well, he's arguing it's everybody's subconscious desires.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I know. I don't like it either.
I don't hold that opinion. I actually think a little bit older is better.
Well, of course you would. As a British person. And I'm going to refuse to elaborate further, and we're going to be done with this episode. Thank you, everybody, for coming on to the War of Ideas. Episode 38. It was wonderful to have Mace on. We talked about Andrew Tate. Final verdict, kind of garbage person. I stand by the fact that I think he's pretty good at saying what's wrong with the world. His recommendations for what people should do are like 90% wrong and gross. And, maybe 10% of the time, like stuff about going to the gym even when you don't feel like it, that might be a good thing. But ultimately, nothing good Andrew Tate says has not been said by somebody else who is a better person and role model. So overall, probably the only way you could argue he's a net positive is just because he has more reach than those better options. But even then, that's not true. Jordan Peterson is much bigger than Andrew Tate. So if Andrew Tate's verdict, I'm not done with my verdict. Shush.
Okay.
If you like Andrew Tate,
you fucked up so much already.
I fucked up all much already. I don't care. It's my show. It's not yours. If you find yourself attracted towards Andrew Tate, watch Jocko Willink, watch Jordan Peterson, David Goggins, Andrew Huberman. Like everything he says, they say, and they say better, and they're better role models. The guy's
And
probably
if
a
you find
scammer.
yourself attracted to me, my number is in the description. I'm joking.
No. Yeah, he's pretty scammy. He treats women badly. He was a digital pimp. I don't love the guy, to be quite frank with you. I don't think he's a super good person, and he shouldn't be looked up to as a role model. If you take anything he says, you should take it with a grain of salt in a very specific, limited way, if at all.
No, disagree. Don't listen to anything he says. He's a completely unreliable source.
If at all.
Just dismiss him.
I'm going to block you. We're going to block Mace. Remember what I said about censorship? I lied. Get him out of here. No, not really. Okay. You're the jester to my king, Mace. I have to keep you. Otherwise, I'll be a tyrant. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good one. Come back next week for the War of Ideas, episode 39. I think we're going to be interviewing somebody important.
Come back next week.
Come back next week. I'm going to mute you, actually. I'm
don't subscribe.
I'm muting you. Subscribe to the show. Come back next week. Subscriptions will allow you to see my show and this idiot's show, and it'll be fantastic. Adamus says it was a debate. It wasn't really. It was just a conversation where I consistently play devil's advocate. Link in the chat. If you want to see a debate between me and Mace, go check out our Liver King debate, which was interesting. And then the Ancestral Tenets debate, rather. And then last thing is the Discord link is in the description. Go check it out if you want to have more conversations like this. We have tons of voice and text channels to talk about philosophy, morality, sex, science, art, all that fun stuff with a lot of interesting and intelligent people. So go join that. Subscribe to the show. Join the Discord. See you all next week. See you all next time. Bye-bye.